The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm sorry, Sid. Hi.
Oh, God, don't be sorry. You kidding me?
No, I'm wrapped up in these meetings on peace. And I said, it's between peace and Sid Rosenberg. And I said, let's take Rosenberg, okay?
So Mayor Zohran Mamdani is the first New York City mayor to not attend the Israel Day parade in more than 60 years. But the mayor says despite his personal feelings about Israel, he's still going to make sure that the parade, the event itself, is safe and secure. Now, the mayor made this announcement standing next to his Jewish police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, who will be marching in the parade. The mayor said that there are no credible threats to the parade at this time, but Commissioner Tisch countered by emphasizing that the threat environment has never been higher, pointing to recent anti-Semitic attacks and threats against synagogues across the country. Tisch says that the NYPD has put together an extensive security plan, including the largest number of NYPD officers ever assigned to the event, heavy weapons teams, counterterrorism teams, canines, helicopters, drones, mounted units, hostile surveillance teams, and more. We asked the mayor about his decision to not attend the parade and asked the police commissioner if she's concerned that the mayor is not attending.
I said on the campaign trail that I wouldn't be attending the parade, and I've made my views on the Israeli government abundantly clear. I don't believe that my presence as the mayor should determine whether or not a New Yorker is safe or secure. That is something we take incredibly seriously.
It's the mayor's decision not to march, and it is my decision to march proudly.
Now, Mamdani has made it clear since the campaign trail that he does not support Israel's government and has been a vocal supporter of the Palestinian cause. He's also accused the Israeli government of committing genocide in Gaza, but the mayor has also worked to maintain that his stance on Israel is separate from his support for those of the Jewish faith. Earlier this month, Mamdani hosted an event at Gracie Mansion to celebrate Jewish Heritage Month, but did not display the Israeli flag like in years past. Jacob Kornblue, who is a reporter for The Forward, a Jewish publication, explains that while the parade is focused on Israel, it also celebrates Jewish New Yorkers from across the city.
While you will see an Israeli delegation at the parade, most of the participants, the marchers, are young students of local high schools and of Jewish organizations. When the mayor gets elected on a platform that is pro-Palestinian and he says that he'll govern based on those beliefs and on that platform, that he will make good with that promise.
Now, dozens of elected officials are expected at the parade, including Governor Kathy Hochul and City Council Speaker Julie Menin. Now, also, former Mayor Eric Adams, he announced on social media that he'll also be there.
New York City has a new sheriff. The mayor's office announced it fired former Sheriff Anthony Miranda and appointed retired NYPD Lieutenant Edwin Raymond. Raymond worked for the department for 15 years before retiring in 2023. He also served in the state attorney general's office as the nation's first social justice liaison. Also developing new clashes with ICE agents during a seventh night of protests outside Delaney Hall in Newark. Protesters were pepper sprayed as agents worked to push back the crowd. Some used umbrellas as shields. DHS says 2 people were arrested. The protests have focused on claims of inhumane conditions inside the ICE facility, which DHS denies.
Started getting calls from inside that the GO guards, 40 of them, were coming through 2 of the units, beating people with batons and throwing chemical agent canisters into the hallway.
Homeland Security says agents broke up a fight involving detainees and there were no serious injuries. On social media, Governor Carroll called for health inspectors to be allowed inside Delaney Hall.
CBS News has learned the Justice Department is investigating E. Jean Carroll, the columnist who accused President Trump of sexually assaulting her 30 years ago.
And now federal prosecutors are looking into whether she lied during the trials. Dick Brennan is here with more details. Dick.
Christina, Jessica, Carroll won a pair of multi-million-dollar settlements in connection with the alleged sexual assault in the 1990s. She was awarded nearly $90 million in damages, but now is the subject of a perjury investigation. The criminal investigation against Carroll is according to sources based on a 2022 deposition where Carroll said she received no outside funding, though it was later revealed that billionaire Reid Hoffman had paid some legal fees and expenses. The Second Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals accepted Carroll's explanation that she had simply forgotten about the outside funding and found it did not reflect poorly on her credibility, as she was not involved in the matter of who was or was not funding the cost of her litigation.
This is not a winnable case for the Department of Justice. Even if there were merits to the claim, and it's already been determined that there are not merits to the claim, that's actually been determined. It is an extremely high bar to establish perjury.
Legal experts say Carroll could claim this is a case of retribution.
One argument that E. Jean Carroll would make is that this is just part of a pattern of President Trump going after political adversaries, not about any facts and law that would give rise to a perjury charge.
After a jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation in 2023, he continued to deny Carroll's claims against him.
I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. It's a rigged deal. It's a made-up, fabricated story.
Carroll sued again, claiming Trump's denials were defamatory. CBS News spoke to her in 2024 after a jury awarded her $83 million.
If Donald Trump needs to use me again to raise campaign funds, he will. I think he will do it. He's just using us. And if he needs us, he will again.
Now, Trump continues to deny the allegations. In November, his attorneys asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn the initial judgment. A source tells CBS News acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who represented Trump in some of the cases, is recused from the case.
The U.S. and Iran appear to be closing in on a tentative agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It still needs President Trump's approval, but the deal would lead to an extension of the ceasefire and open the door for more critical talks on Iran's nuclear program. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has new reporting.
Just hours after the U.S. and Iran traded strikes, American and Iranian negotiators believe they're closing in on an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But it still needs President Trump to sign off.
I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards.
According to U.S. officials, the president has been briefed on a draft agreement that would extend the current fragile ceasefire and see the strait reopen over the course of 60 days. Iran loosening its grip on the critical waterway as the U.S. pulls back its naval blockade on Iranian ports, buying time to start negotiating an end to the war. But this tentative agreement says nothing of what happens to Iran's nuclear program, the central issue in this war, and it follows weeks of whiplash and discussions of deals that never came to be. Sources say the U.S. has committed to discussing sanctions relief for Iran during the negotiation period, something the president had said was not up for discussion. But today, the Treasury Secretary not ruling it out. Just to be clear, is sanctions relief for Iran on the table?
It is a multifaceted agreement, and nothing is going to be on the table until we see the Strait of Hormuz open and the Iranians agree that they have to turn over the highly enriched uranium and that they can't have a nuclear program.
Today, the president asked in an interview if there's a red line Iran could cross that would cause the U.S. to fully restart this war.
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, I'm playing it out and we're going to see, and that's what I do.
With the bottom line here, even if the two sides agree to this short-term deal to reopen the strait, the tough nuclear negotiations are still to come. The White House tonight stressing what comes next depends on President Trump and what he decides to do. Well,
Well, it is nearly 2 months late, but New York finally has a budget. Surrounded by supporters, Governor Hochul signed the $268.5 billion spending package. It includes restrictions on cooperation with ICE, investments in statewide universal pre-K, relief from utility costs in the form of rebate checks ranging from $100 to $200, public pension reforms, and no income tax on tips up to $25,000 per year.
The governor's race, Hochul is the same creature. You know, she calls you and she's loves you, and then she goes on one of these channels here, and she's not very nice. But we've got our mutual friend who just won his second consecutive race, Mr. President, Nassau County, Bruce Blakeman. He's now running for governor. How great, Mr. President, would Bruce Blakeman be as the governor of our state?
Well, he's a fantastic guy, and I know him very well. I've supported him always, and he won in Nassau County, and that's like impossible for a Republican. Not only that, he just had an election. He won in a landslide. He's a great guy. He would be an amazing governor. You're right about Kathy Hochul. She is so nice to me. She calls me, "Hi, President. Hi. How you doing?" Cannot be nicer. She wants to build windmills all over the place. It's like crazy. But she cannot be nicer. And then I'll see her the following day on television knocking the hell out of me. I said, you're very disloyal when you call me and you're so nice. And then all of a sudden, it's like just a weird thing. Yeah. I know when she's calling because it says Buffalo, New York. I pick up. I say, I know exactly, Buffalo, New York. Yeah. And I love Buffalo. I love the whole state. But when she calls and she's nice, and then the following morning she'll just, rip you. It's so dishonest. People understand it, but it's dishonest.
And at the time, Bruce Blakeman had just won in very impressive fashion and in very dominating fashion. He had just won his second consecutive Nassau County executive election and had just announced he was running for governor. So we talked about run there. Brian Kilmeade is coming up later on this morning. I've got a very busy day with Brian today, even though my teeth are still killing me. I got to see Brian later on this morning to do his radio show. I believe it's on about 150 stations all across America. I'll be live coming up, I believe, his last guest around 11:30 this morning. And then I'll see Brian again about 2 hours after that for a TV show meeting, because I make my return to Brian Kilmeade's very popular 10 p.m. Sunday night show on Fox News, One Nation, this weekend. So a lot of Kilmeade today, but Kilmeade also has asked me to run for mayor. A lot of people have, right? Laura Trump and Bruce Blakeman and K.T. McFarland, and the list goes on and on. So there's run again. And then you've got the big primary day in Los Angeles coming up on Tuesday. A lot of primaries everywhere. Obviously, for example, my friend Alex Zidane, who I did speak to last night, he had a big debate in New Jersey last night. And I spoke to Alex right before, gave him some words of encouragement, got him going. And he's going to have his four-man primary on Tuesday in New Jersey for the right to represent the Republican Party in that general election coming up in November against the stiff that is Cory Booker. So we're all rooting on Alex Zidane. Go vote for him, folks. Do the right thing. Tuesday, New Jersey. Alex, but the big one is out in California. Really two big ones getting a lot of press. That is the race for mayor, where Spencer Pratt seems to be gaining on the incumbent Karen Bass. She's horrible. And this other lady that's running, she is the Mamdani of Los Angeles, a DSA candidate, Nithya Rahman. There's really three people in that mayor's race in Los Angeles looking to gain two spots. Remember, in California, whether it's Spencer Pratt on Tuesday for mayor or the guy that me and Trump have endorsed, Steve Hilton, for governor, it's a jungle primary. So what happens is the top two could be two Democrats, could be two Republicans, could be 1-1. The top two advance. That's how it works, Noam, right?
No, I think there's a difference. In the governor's race, it is the two top candidates who advance to November. In the mayoral race, it's a little different. If one candidate gets over 50%, then they win the race outright. If I'm not mistaken, that's how it works.
Oh, really?
But there's no chance that's going to happen, so it's going to go to November.
Right. So, but it is still the top two, assuming there's no 50% plus in the mayor's race. It's still the top two in each race.
I think that's for sure how the governor's race works. I'll look it up, but I'm almost positive Los Angeles, if you hit a 50% threshold, which won't happen, then you would be the next mayor.
Any other races that I should be concentrating on? I mentioned Zidane out in New Jersey, but locally? Anything else on Tuesday?
You have Rob Menendez Jr. over in where I live in New Jersey.
His father's in prison, right?
His father's in prison. So they've used that against him, saying, somehow he has a connection to his dad, that he might be, taking gold bars, even though there's not essentially any proof of that. But he's in a hotly contested race in his primary against a guy named Musab Ali, whose whole campaign...
Of course he is.
And guess what his whole campaign is centered on?
Let me guess. Pro-Palestine, I hate Israel.
Right.
Yeah.
Defunding Israel, AIPAC, that kind of thing. And I don't think he's going to win, but...
Who, Menendez or the other guy?
No, I think
Muhammad Ali.
Musab Ali probably won't win, but he's forced Menendez to spend a ton of money in this race. Now, whoever wins that race in northern New Jersey wins. There's no Republican even running for Congress in that district. So whoever wins the primary next week will be the next congressman, or he'll hold on to the seat. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But Musab Ali is very similar to Zohran Mamdani. He's used TikTok very effectively to grab a younger generation of voters. The question is, will those younger generation of voters know that there's a primary next Tuesday? My guess is likely not, but we'll have to wait and see.
They probably don't know, do they?
Not usually. Usually they're November voters, but who knows? Maybe he's able to get them to the polls on a Tuesday in the middle, first week of June.
Right. All right, so the biggest story here locally is Sunday is the Israeli Day Parade. And I'll be marching, of course, as I do every year. And I march with the folks from Nassau County. You heard me talking to President Trump about Bruce Blakeman. Blakeman and I march together every year. Mazi Pilip marches with us. Gabriel Boxer, a.k.a. the kosher guru, Abraham Hamra. It's a very big contingent out of Nassau County. And we all march together. And eventually, we meet up with Ina Vernikov out of Brooklyn and other fine folks. I know a lot of politicians and former politicians. They're going to be there. The former mayor, Eric Adams, he'll be there. For some reason, the governor is going to be there. I made this point yesterday. Why would the governor be there? The governor has endorsed Zohran Mamdani. We'll get to him. Obviously, the mayor is not going to be there on Sunday, and he shouldn't be there, okay? But Kathy Hochul has enthusiastically endorsed Zohran Mamdani. So my idea yesterday was a Kathy baby. Why don't you do this? Stay up in Albany or Buffalo, whatever you do. Invite all these really crappy Jews, which I was the first to call Doug Emhoff, the husband of Kamala Harris, a crappy Jew, even though Jessica Tarlov on Fox News to this day says Trump said it. He didn't. I said it. Why don't you grab all these crappy Jews like Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders and Jamie Raskin and Jerry Nadler? I know I'm missing a whole bunch more. Grab them and walk around the corner somewhere in Albany and Buffalo and make that your Israeli Day Parade. Leave Fifth Avenue up to the real Jews. People like me and Bruce Blakeman and who's running against her. And the Jews that actually care. Why she's going to be there, I have no idea. She's done nothing, I mean zero, to help combat anti-Semitism. And she sucks up and buddies up to the mayor, talking about Kathy Hochul. But the mayor announced he is not coming. He shouldn't be there. Bottom line is he hates Jews. He talks about, the Israeli government and Bibi. It's a lie. Bibi's not going to be there on Sunday. The Israeli government is not going to be there on Sunday. New York Jews, many of which actually voted for Zohran Mamdani, may be there. I think a lot of the folks who actually voted for Zohran won't be there either, even if they are Jewish, because they're self-hating Jews. But Zohran should be there just for the Jewish community. He claims that he's the mayor for everybody, right? For everybody. Okay, fantastic. You're pro-Palestinian? God bless you. But if you're the mayor for everybody, plenty of us, plenty of Jews marching on Sunday, not every single Jew at that parade on Sunday loves Israel either. Whole other problem. Zohran should be there just for them. So his excuse that he's not down with Bibi or the Israeli government, that doesn't work. You're the mayor of everybody. You told us that. Didn't he tell us that? I'm the mayor for everybody, including the Jews. I'm not going to be there on Sunday, but I'm really going to make sure that security and the police, don't worry about that, okay? Last I checked, the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, is Jewish. She's also the grand marshal of Sunday's parade. We don't need Mamdani's help. So he's the phony because if you represent everybody, as he claims he does, including the Jewish people in New York, you should be there Sunday, even if you hate Bibi's guts and you can't stand Israel. This is Fifth Avenue. This is Manhattan. These are New Yorkers. He's got no excuse. But here's what he had to say anyway about not coming to Sunday's parade. Lewis, this is cut number 2.
I said on the campaign trail that I wouldn't be attending the parade, and I've made my views on the Israeli government abundantly clear. I don't believe that my presence as the mayor should determine whether or not a New Yorker is safe or secure. That is something we take incredibly seriously.
And so Jessica Tisch comes back, and the police commissioner, who is very careful with her words. She just is, okay? She loves the job. She loves protecting New Yorkers. She's up on stage, on television with Mamdani all the time. They're standing next to each other. Sometimes they're smiling simultaneously. I'm not going to speak for Jessica Tisch, even though I speak to Jessica Tisch relatively often, Jessica and Delaney Kempner in the commissioner's office. And I know that Mamdani's people hate to hear that. I just don't care. I do speak to them relatively often. We had a conversation, in fact, a couple days ago, when Dov Hikind suggested that Kathy Hochul call in the National Guard for Sunday's parade, which, of course, is never going to happen. So Tisch is going to march. And again, she is the grand marshal on Sunday. And the very last word of this 4-second clip, you got to listen carefully. It's only 4 seconds. It's a total of about 8 words. But the last word, in my opinion, and Tisch hasn't told me this, she'll probably never admit it, the last word really sticks it up the mayor's ass. Jessica Tisch, cut number 3.
It's the mayor's decision not to march, and it is my decision to march proudly.
Proudly. Not the mayor's not marching, I am marching. But hey, F-face. You hate the Jews, you hate Israel, you hate all that stuff. I'm going to march proudly. I think you'd have to agree, Noam, that extra word at the end of that sentence was to say, F you, Mamdani. I don't really care what you do. This is how I feel.
It was awesome. And what the mayor fails to see here is this is bigger than Israel. This is a Jewish pride parade. It's like the Columbus Day parade. It's, you know, it's like a parade where people talk about the pride of their heritage. And yeah, they're waving the Israeli flag, but there's going to, like you said, there's going to be a fair amount of people who will march in this parade who are Israel supporters, who are not supporters of the government. It's a democracy at the end of the day. And he doesn't get that. And I think it's a huge mistake on his part. I know you wouldn't want to see him there, but I think he's making a huge mistake by not going.
Is. Yeah, no, forget what I want. He should be there. Screw what I want. He should be there, but he ain't coming. Any other big stories about Mamdani besides this one yesterday?
Well, he was talking about the president coming to, you know, either game 3 or 4 of the finals, which is going to be at the Garden.
Oh, Mamdani talked about that?
Yes. And if you give me a second, I can find what he said. They asked him whether he would want to sit next to the president. You know,
oh, my God.
We don't know where the president will be for security reasons. Maybe he won't be courtside, or maybe he will. Depends, you know, what
they may
they
have
can
to
do.
stick him in Jim Dolan's suite or something like that.
Yes.
No.
So,
although they do have metal detectors and all kinds of security when you enter Madison Square Garden, but you would think that President Trump sitting on the court in plain view, even with all the security measures that they do take, because I go to Knick and Ranger games, that would still be a bit of an issue.
You know, I remember, though, President Obama going to Washington Wizards games a couple
Nobody
times.
wanted to kill Obama. especially in Washington.
I agree.
Nobody wanted to kill Obama.
But he was sitting courtside, so maybe he'll be able to. But so yesterday they asked the mayor. They said, "Do you want to sit next to the president if he invited you to do so?" Which I don't think would happen. And here's what the mayor said.
If the president comes to watch the Knicks, I'll leave the president to watch the Knicks as he wants to watch the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to sit next to him.
Wow.
No.
But I thought they were buddies. No?
I don't know. That answer sounded to me like he doesn't want to sit next to him. Maybe I'm hearing it wrong, but...
They were together in the Oval Office. Mamdani was smiling. You remember that? Twice. No?
Yeah.
So what happened?
The president grabbed his arm at one point.
Yes. I say it all the time. And President Trump has never, ever, ever had any private conversations or any text conversations with me about Mamdani. Never. But I am telling you, I know this guy, Trump, really well. And I know this other guy really well, this Mamdani. I don't care what Trump says. I don't care how many times President Trump calls Mamdani a good guy, a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, Sid. He doesn't feel that way. He just loves this city. And he's willing to do whatever it takes, including hide his own real feelings, to try to fix the city. And he believes that having a working relationship with the people in this city and this state, that goes for the Wicked Witch, Kathy Hochul, too. He believes that a good relationship can only help fix the issues here. The problem is that all Mamdani wants from Trump is billions of dollars for new housing. That's all he wants. He doesn't care if President Trump drops dead today, God forbid, God forbid. He couldn't care less. He wants money for housing. And Kathy, she's the biggest phony on the planet. You heard me and Trump talk about Kathy Hochul. He said it. Sid, she calls me up, "Oh, Mr. President, how are you? I love you," all that stuff. And then the very next day, she just kills him, even if it means embarrassing herself, like claiming that Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant were all part of the 1993 New York Knicks championship team. So Mamdani didn't go as far as trying to quiz the president on the history of the Knicks, but as you said, Noam, he didn't sound all that enthusiastic about a possible sit-together. There's some website out there. It's called bpd.news, which I think stands for Basketball Diplomacy. And they put out a story yesterday. Siggy Flicker sent me this. She goes, "This has to be fake." I think it is fake. They put out a story that Trump and Bibi will be sitting next to each other courtside.
No, come on.
Never happened,
Yeah.
right?
But he did show the mayor yesterday, we weren't sure, is he really a Knicks fan? And so they asked him about that. You want to hear what he had to say when they asked him? Okay.
Anyone who wants to come and watch the Knicks and pray that Landry keeps making those threes and we see Captain Clutch out there on the court, I think everybody should be welcome there.
Yeah. So he was, I think, trying to show, unlike Kathy Hochul, he actually knows who plays for the Knicks. Yeah.
What a mess. What a mess. Anything else with Mamdani? That's it? Just basketball and its Ready Day parades?
I think so. Yeah, those were the big stories yesterday, out of him anyway.
All right, so Trump is now talking about a possible ceasefire extension, 60-day memorandum to the ceasefire going on right now. He is, according to reports, overlooking the memorandum, the possibility of extending this. I mean, how much longer is he thinking about extending this is my question.
Well, they're talking, we don't know for sure, but the reports are it's 60 days.
Right.
And but opening up the Strait of Hormuz, and then they continue to negotiate the nuclear side of this. But when you look at the deal, now look, this may not be accurate of the reports that we're seeing, but let's say they are. The deal seems incredibly similar to the one that President Obama negotiated years ago with the Iranians. And if that ends up being the case, I think a lot of people will see this whole thing as a failure.
I think a lot of people are seeing it that way right now anyway, no? Let's do a little informal poll here, okay? Most people that you speak to, not on the air, if the Iran conflict comes up, Noam, what do they say to you?
They could care less.
Oh, they don't even care.
Yeah, they just wanted to talk about something else, or they're worried that things are more expensive. That's really the issue at the end of the day.
All right, let's get a couple of quotes from President Trump yesterday on this Iran conflict. This will be cut number 7, Lewis, saying that in these negotiations, we're in charge. Cut number 7.
I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards.
And right now, there's no war. You know, I guess kind of a weird ceasefire in that both sides are still firing. We're actually just defending ourselves because every now and then Iran will send a rocket towards one of our ships in the strait or do something like that, and we'll just defend ourselves and fight back. But there's no war, at least, according to the powers that be. But is it possible that Iran can do something that'll get us really pissed again? This is President Trump, cut number 8.
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, you know, I'm playing it out and we're going to see, and that's what I do.
See, a lot of people are fearful, Noam, that in this deal, the United States is going to provide sanction relief for Iran. And if we do that, they have money coming in again. And after Trump buried them the first time around, Biden took office. He did exactly that. Sanction relief, billions went their way, and Obama did the same thing. And the next thing you know, these 3 proxy groups, terror proxies, the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, are murdering and raping innocent people in Israel and across the world. So people are worried, especially Israelis, that if we provide Iran with sanction relief, the same thing's going to happen all over again. So here was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent yesterday, Lewis, cut number 9, talking about whether or not sanction relief is even on the table.
Just to be clear, is sanctions relief for Iran on the table?
It is a multifaceted agreement, and nothing is going to be on the table until we see the Strait of Hormuz open and the Iranians agree that they have to turn over the highly enriched uranium and that they can't have a nuclear program.
All right, so those are the 2 things, the 2 sticking points, I should say, issues they keep going back to. The Strait, got to reopen the Strait and hand over any uranium that's been enriched. I think the first one we can do ourselves. We don't need Iran's permission. Just by sheer force, we can take over the Strait. That second one, man, I don't see it. And the truth is, there's no way to do it. We've had these conversations. There's really no way to do it from the air because a lot of this stuff is buried in the mountains of Iran, the uranium. That's going to require the United States to send over people, boots on the ground. And that could result, and this is why I believe President Trump is hesitant to do it, because he doesn't want anybody dying, especially Americans. We've already lost 13 service members. That would require America to send over boots on the ground, if that's how you want to say it, to get into those mountains, into those tunnels, to get that uranium. Isn't that true, Noam?
Yeah, it's the only way to get to it. So, but I don't know that America has an appetite to see troops on the ground in a foreign country.
No.
That they don't feel threatened by the way.
They don't. Exactly. That's the other issue, is that so many people say, you know, it wasn't imminent, and the president has explained why it doesn't matter, and the president is right. Well, I'm tired of explaining it to him. My God, it's at this point, it's if you don't get it, you just don't get it. You're never going to get it. Partly because you don't want to get it, right? Like if you're still calling Israel genocidal, well, you're stupid, but you're not going to, no one's going to convince you differently, because it's such a visceral reaction when we talk about Bibi or Israel or Trump or Iran. No one is sitting down, for the most part. Well, I am, but nobody is sitting down and really trying to figure out why it's good, or maybe it's not. The reactions are all visceral. You got the folks who are supportive, and then you got the haters. And if it's 50-50, which it may be, that doesn't bode well for Trump and Republicans come November. Does it, no?
No, and for sure, a lot of money is going to be involved in this deal because the Iranians desperately need money. The economy's tanking. They need sanction relief.
Right. No matter what what Trump says.
Yeah, it's going to be 100% part of the deal.
Got to be
no
money.
way.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, if you're Israel, you're a sitting duck again. Because how do you know you're going to make them sign a piece of paper? You make sure that money doesn't go to Hamas or Hezbollah. And the Iranians will sign it. They don't care. And then they'll send a pallet of cash the next morning. Kind of like when Hochul is nice to Trump on the phone and kills him 2 minutes later. Kind of like when Putin says to Trump on the phone, I'm not going to bomb him. And then he bombs Ukraine 2 minutes later. The Iranians will lie, but there's no way you get a deal done without it. What else does Iran want? What else in their part of the deal would Iran want? Besides, obviously, stop bombing us. That's not fun.
Right.
Besides money. What else?
That's it.
That's it. All right, what else is going on here?
Those are kind of the big stories I'm trying to think locally that, we have.
Well, you saw the thing out in New Jersey and Newark, those ICE protests, right?
Yes.
Is that still a daily thing?
It's still a daily thing. It's gotten way more intense. In fact, yesterday there were 6 or 7 arrests as these protesters doing battle with these ICE agents. And now you have the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, saying, we're going to come after these people. You can't fight with ICE agents. You can't attack them. They're saying horrible things to them, screaming at them that they're going to dox them by talking about who they are and their families. And so Todd Blanche says the White House is coming for these protesters and they should go somewhere else. And the protesters claim that it's all about the treatment of these immigrants that are inside this detention center, which they say some of them are on a hunger strike. They say they're the deplorable conditions. But the Department of Homeland Security says that's just not true. They say these migrants, immigrants, whatever you want to call them, are being treated fine. They've broken the law, and that's the reason they're there. But the White House says they're not going to stand for this much longer, what's going on in Newark.
What are they going to do about it?
Well, they can come in and start making arrests, and it looks like they'll start to do that. Yesterday, there were 6 arrests.
Yeah.
I imagine maybe there'll be more, but the crowd has gone bigger. It's starting to feel, by the way, a little bit like Minneapolis, in that you have these outside protesters coming in. So these are not all people from New Jersey, which you won't be shocked to hear.
Right.
But as this protest and more people hear about it, you have people coming from other part of the country, and they're setting up, essentially there's this huge tent outside the area where they're feeding some of these protesters.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it turns into a whole machine of people who do this thing, go around the country and are part of these protests. That's what's starting to happen in Newark as well.
Well, thank God Mikey Muhammad Sherrill is on our side, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I got a text from Pete Morgan yesterday. He's still in the hospital recovering. Hopefully, Mr. Peerless Boilers will go home one day. Pete, we love you. And he was having a couple laughs with his lovely wife, Maureen, and they couldn't remember exactly what I called Mikey Sherrill. He's texting me late yesterday afternoon. Hey, Sid, tell me, what do you say about Mikey Sherrill? Maureen and I are laughing, but we can't remember exactly what you call her. So there it is, Mikey Muhammad Sherrill. She was all dressed up on Ramadan in the Arabian garb and showing up at mosques in Passaic and allegedly hanging out with clerics that hate America, hate Israel, all that good stuff. That's your governor, New Jersey. You put her in there. My man Jack Chittarelli, he would have been great. He got clobbered. Now you've got the same opportunity with Alex Zidane coming up on Tuesday in the primary for men. And let's see if you blow it again. I have very little faith at this point in New Jersey and New York. Most of these sanctuary cities, most of these sanctuary states, blue, very little faith that come election day, they'll do the right thing. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Again, Tuesday, California. Here's your chance. Karen Bass has been a nightmare for Los Angeles. Homeless everywhere. It's really bad. They've got a worse homeless problem than we've got. Junkies shooting up in the streets. Crime out of control. People leaving Los Angeles for places like Miami. Even got a DSA candidate running similar to Mamdani as the third alongside Pratt and Bass in that Los Angeles race. But Bass, running out of water when the Palisades are burning down, there's no excuse for that. And that also goes back to the feckless and horrible governor, Gavin Newsom. But you couldn't do a worse job. Well, you could, Mamdani, but it'd be very hard to do a worse job than Karen Bass has done in Los Angeles. And yet, even though Spencer Pratt's getting all the headlines and all these celebrities, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jamie Foxx and all these big shots are going to vote for Spencer Pratt, he's not winning today. At least in the polls, he's made up a lot of ground. He's right there. But I think he's still about 3 points back. I think at 28%, Karen Bass is still winning. You couldn't do a worse job, and she's still winning. And Spencer Pratt, I will also tell you, is not all that impressed, Lewis, with all these celebrities coming out there to endorse him. In fact, he says, I don't want it. Let's play that, Spencer Pratt. I think this was CNN yesterday.
You have celebrities that are now coming out in support of you, but they will deny it, won't they? Leo DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx?
What I've learned is I actually don't want celebrities to come out and endorse me. I don't want anybody to endorse me except for the moms and the animal lovers in L.A. That's my entire vote.
Yeah.
Because that's, I don't... So I'm cool if no celebrity ever endorses me. I actually love when the celebrities attack me because then I'm like, I'm doing so well.
He likes it. So do I. So does President Trump. Right? When the celebrities come attack him, that's actually a good day. So he's still trailing, right? No, he's not winning in these polls.
No, well, the latest poll that came out, which was maybe 48 hours ago, the three candidates were essentially in a tie. There was
is that right?
Yeah, 1 or 2 points between the two of them. So the issue for him is he just needs to come at least in second place.
Right.
And then he has a long time until November to really mount a huge campaign. I think that,
well, if he makes the final two, to your point, he's gained so much momentum so quickly over the last couple of weeks that I think he would be the favorite. I really do. But like you said, he's got to get through Tuesday.
Which, by the way, the latest poll, he was in third place.
I think he was at 25, the DSA Psycho 27, and Bass 28, right?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. That DSS Psycho, she's right there. No one's even talking about it. They go, Pratt and Bass. No, Rahman is right there. Right there. And these big cities like ours have proven, and many more are doing it, they have no issue with the Islamification of America. Radical Islam is taking over America, and Americans seem to be taking part in a lot of big cities. A lot. What a shame it would be if Pratt comes in third behind this DSA candidate. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? I mean, look at all the issues we've got here with Mamdani. I saw some girl on television a couple of days ago, not that it matters, but some black girl. She was making this really enthusiastic argument how great Mamdani is. He said, he's fixed the housing problem. Has he done that? He's made it more affordable for people to live in. Has he done that? What has he done? What has he done? He's caused issues with just about every religious group in this city. Forget about the Jews. Let me remind everybody, when Cardinal Dolan was cast aside by this Pope, which was gross, it was gross, and they installed Ronald Hicks, St. Patrick's Cathedral, the mayor did not go. We keep hearing, first mayor not to go to Israeli Day Parade since 1964. Throw the Jews out for a second. The Catholics, Christians, Ronald Hicks, St. Patrick's Cathedral, the mayor didn't show up. What you doing so well, sweetheart? Come on, you tell me. Every religious group in this city outside of the Muslims, he loves them. An issue. Every cop. We've done this a million times. Every successful person, billionaires, guys that pay most of our taxes and should be inspirational. People like John Catsimatidis. You should be inspired by John Catsimatidis, not hate him. Ken Griffin, Bill Ackman, all these guys. This guy's done a horrendous job. He's been more divisive in 5 months than Bill de Blasio was in 8 years. And Bill was a complete putz. And now you got a lady in Los Angeles who's basically Mamdani with a vagina. She wants to do the same thing, and she's in second. You know, people say you get what you deserve. Hassan Piker, that lowlife. America deserved 9/11. No, he didn't. 3,000 people went to work that day, and they never came home. No one deserves that, Hassan, you moron. Nobody. People died on an airplane. They died in the Pentagon. No one deserves that. But when it comes to elections, not murder, when it comes to elections, you get what you deserve. When you vote these people in, you're going to get crap. And yet, time and time again, city by city, state by state, that's what we do. It really is insane. No?
It does. I mean, after everything that's happened, especially in Los Angeles, I think these polls probably may not be capturing the enthusiasm behind Spencer Pratt. That's just my guess. I bet he's doing better than these polls are showing. It won't be enough for him to win, but I think it'll be more than enough for him to come in first or second place.
You don't, or you do?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think he won't get 50%, but he'll end up in the top 2, and then he'll get to move on till November. I'd be shocked if he doesn't, because it seems like the enthusiasm is on his side. You don't hear anybody going rah, Karen Bass.
Right. All right, we'll see. And finally, and Justin Ellick has your sports all morning long, and Noam did bring up the fact that Mamdani doesn't seem excited about the potential of him sitting next to President Trump at an NBA Finals game with the Knicks. As I mentioned about 40 minutes ago, we're going to find out who the Knicks are playing in the finals. We could have found out last night, but that would have required a road win for the Thunder. They didn't get it. So every home team in this series has held serve, which we know didn't happen in the Eastern Conference. Knicks won. They closed out all 3 series on the road, the Knickerbockers. The Cavaliers blew out the Pistons on the road. In this Western Conference Finals, the home team has won every game, which, when you say, why does regular season basketball matter? Well, Oklahoma City gets that 7th and deciding game on Saturday at home. And they're 3-0 at home in this series, and I believe have not lost a game the entire playoffs at home. So that's why regular season and seeding matters. And Knicks got all the way as a 3 seed. I get that. But Oklahoma City, they're not losing tomorrow. Trust me. I know the Spurs won last night. The Thunder, they're not losing tomorrow. So you're going to get the Knicks and Thunder in the NBA Finals starting on Wednesday night. But again, that's why they play the game, right? No one thought we'd beat Canada this year until our guy Jack Hughes lit the lamp. Nobody thought we'd beat the Russians in 1980 until Mike Eruzione lit the lamp. Nobody thought the Dodgers would beat the A's until Kirk Gibson hit the home run. Nobody thought the Giants would beat the Bills until Scott Norwood missed that makeable field goal. So you never know. But it does look like Knicks and Thunder will be the NBA Finals starting on Wednesday night. All right, big guest list today. Big one. Bruce Pearl, one of the greatest college basketball coaches in the history of the game, SEC champ, great years at Tennessee, 2 Final Fours, 2 of them at Auburn University, where his son Stephen now coaches the team. Bruce is going to march on Sunday, big Israel supporter, great Jewish coach. Used to wrap the film before the games. Bruce Pearl will join us first. Before it's said and done, Brian Kilmeade, K.T. McFarland, John Solomon, Alan Dershowitz, and I'm working on Eric Adams as well. All that coming up.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I made a big mistake last night, Lewis and Noam. We decided to have a little family dinner. It was quick. At Pico's. You know Pico's, Lou?
Sure do.
Local Mexican restaurant, walking distance from my house. Me, Danielle, the beautiful Danielle, Ava, and Gabe. And the one thing I really enjoy at Pico, I think we lost Bruce Pearl, or he maybe just hung up, I don't know.
No, he's going to call back.
I was going to call back.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really enjoy when I go for Mexican food, more than anything, because, you know, my entree, I might get a burrito, I might get an enchilada, I might get tacos. Depends on the mood I'm in, you know. But the one thing I get every time is chips and guacamole. I love guacamole. Don't you love that, Noam?
Do they make it at the table right in front of you?
No, but I do enjoy that.
It is good, though, there.
They don't do it at the table, which I do enjoy, not going to lie. That's why I love going to these restaurants. What do you call them? They make chicken teriyaki and,
hibachi.
Yes, hibachi, thank you. I enjoy that. They do the whole show. They throw the egg up in the air and all that. So they don't make it in front of you, but it's a great guacamole. And I had forgotten for a couple of seconds that, oh, my God, I still have stitches in my mouth and, I can't eat.
Uh-oh.
So I took the chip, and I went to put the chip in my mouth, and I swear it was like O.J. Simpson came to visit me. I was being stabbed right in the mouth. I just happened to hit the chip from the side, right on the stitches.
Oh, my God, that sounds painful.
Bro, it was so bad. I ended up getting 2 tacos on the soft wrap, because I can't eat a hard taco. I didn't even eat the wrap. I took a fork. This is really pathetic. I took a fork and took what was inside the taco and ate it. Like, I just hate eating right now. Yesterday for lunch, for example, I had the local barista place on 116 deliver me, because I couldn't get in touch with Robbie at Panino Rustico. So I had to deliver a tuna fish on a soft roll. And you know what? The soft roll wasn't soft enough.
Wow.
So every morning, Justin goes out for breakfast, and I get scrambled eggs on a plate and white bread with too much butter, which I can't eat anyway because I can't eat the crust. And this is my life these days. Now, again, how to do it. Those 2 teeth were rotten to the core. I was collecting bacteria in between the teeth, and when I was losing bone, I get all that. I saw the x-rays. It was ugly. So I know I did the right thing by having them extract the 2 teeth. But, man, am I miserable. I'm getting text messages from John Batash's wife, Natia. She's a great dentist. She wants to help. Some listener, her name is Beth. She wants to help. People are so nice, But it seems like I'm on the right road to recovery. I'm still taking these antibiotics, which are like horse pills. The pill itself weighs about 5 pounds. And that makes me nauseous and tired and whatever. God, I'm sick of myself. I really am.
When was this? You had this done Tuesday, Monday?
One of those days. I forgot already. I'm on painkillers. Take it easy, bro.
Well, I'm just wondering how many days it's been. It's been like 4 or 5 days now, right?
Yeah. Yes. 4 or 5 days. And I guess it's getting better. I don't know.
What made you think you could eat chips?
It was actually not. It wasn't a hard chip. It was kind of a softer chip.
Oh, okay.
But still, it was stupid.
The ones in Pico?
At Pico, yeah.
Those are chips.
I know, but I was feeling around and hoping every now and then you get one that's not as hard.
You still
kind of like the Chinese restaurant.
Still talking about the chips. Now.
The chips, yeah. Not Noam's penis.
Okay, yeah.
All right, we got to take a break.
Thanks for explaining the joke. I appreciate it. Whoa, I was really confused before. Thank God Sid came along and cleared it all up.
The great college basketball coach and dear friend of mine, Bruce Pearl, kicks off a great Friday guest list.
This is Sid on Sports.
Oh, my goodness!
Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here with your sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com. Find a dealer near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built of boilers. Out in San Antonio, Spurs beat the Thunder 118-91. Western Conference Finals, Game 6 there. That series now knotted at 3 games apiece. Game 7 scheduled for tomorrow night in Oklahoma City. The winner will face, of course, our New York Knicks in the NBA Finals beginning Wednesday next week. Speaking of our Knicks, news breaking yesterday that center Mitchell Robinson has suffered a broken right pinky finger ahead of the finals, and there is no timetable for his return. Keep a close eye on that, but I doubt you'll see him here in the finals. MLB tonight and this weekend. Mets will welcome in the Miami Marlins tonight at 7:10 p.m. for game 1 of 3. Freddie Peralta will get the start in the opener. 9:40 p.m. tonight, the Yankees are out in Sacramento against the Athletics all weekend. Carlos Rodon will get the start in game 1. NHL tonight, 8 p.m., Canadiens and Hurricanes, Eastern Conference Final Game 5. Carolina leading that series 3-1, and the winner will meet Vegas in the Cup Finals. And sad news out of the NHL yesterday as well. Claude Lemieux, who won the Stanley Cup 4 times during a memorable NHL career, has died due to suicide, according to authorities. He's
Crazy.
60 years old, yeah.
He had good days here in New Jersey with the Devils. Great days in Montreal and other spots, but pretty good New Jersey Devil.
Yeah, and just made a public appearance 3 days ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was the Canadiens' torchbearer before Game 3.
Oh, I saw him. White hair, really tan, looked like $1 million, right?
Kind of looked like you.
Yeah.
A little bit like me, with white hair. He looked great.
Yeah.
Sure. His
And then
teeth are okay, though, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he killed himself right after that?
3 days.
Do we know
after that.
how he
After
did
that.
it? The manner in which?
No, we have very little details. We know that his son found him in one of their department stores. They have furniture department stores in downtown Lake Park, Florida.
Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely a devastating story coming out of the NHL. Rest in peace to the great Claude Lemieux. Sports sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Spoilers. Go to peerlesspoilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Spoilers, the world's best built spoilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Spent time with Bruce a couple nights ago. I was playing injured. People don't know. Teeth were killing me. Couldn't eat. Didn't matter. We had a great symposium with Erin Molan and me and Bruce Pearl and the actor and singer James Maslow and Rabbi Mark Wild, and we all got awards later on that night. And Bruce is an amazing speaker. I say this, last year at JNS in Jerusalem, which I'm going back to this year, the last block, 3 days, right? They start with BB. They have days and days of speakers. But they save the big guns for the last block. Mike Huckabee, Mark Levin, Sid, Bruce. I really thought Bruce had the best speech, the best one in Jerusalem last year. He was tremendous on stage at the Manhattan Jewish Experience on Wednesday night, too. Great coach, but even a better friend. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
Sid, I am terrific. This is Sid and Friends, and I don't know what brought us together, brother, but I'm not sure who your mother, your father is, but I think somehow we're related.
I'll tell you how we got together. I'll be honest. I saw you rapping tefillin before a college basketball game. I said, look at this guy. I mean, I'm a big sports guy. I'm aware of all your success and the great coach, but I didn't know you. I'm like, look at this guy. The world hates Israel. This was after the war obviously started in 2023. And it didn't matter. Kentucky, any big game, LSU. There's Bruce Pearl rapping tefillin. So I reached out to a kid named Zach Gelb. I know his dad, Bob Gelb, very well from our days together at WFAN. And Zach said, I just had Bruce on. He said, can you possibly make some type of shidduch between me and Bruce? Because I think I love this guy. And he sent me your number. I texted you. And to my surprise, you texted me right back. You're on my show the next morning. And the love affair has blossomed ever since.
Well, I grew up as a kid wanting to get bar mitzvahed so that I could go with my papa in the morning and rap tefillin at the morning service.
Wow.
And, it was very, very special. My papa died about 5 months after I was bar mitzvahed.
Sorry.
But we got a chance to do that. And, it's always, it's an incredible blessing. And it just, it reminds us of who we are. And listen, it is so okay to be proud to be an American, a patriot, and a Jew. And I live it, and I own it, and I'm just grateful for it. And I'm grateful that I could do it right here in this country.
I'll tell you, though, there's a story that surfaced this week. I was in Rockland County last Friday. I saw the president. He was very sweet, as always, to me. And Jackson Dart, the quarterback of the Giants, introduced President Trump, and it turned into a huge problem where the quarterback, the coach, had to address the team on Wednesday. In the meantime, the biggest troublemaker, Abdul Carter, didn't go to the meeting. Shows you what a coward he is. But either way, it became a big issue, and it's still a big issue for Jackson Dart because he publicly supported President Trump. And you did the same thing with something equally as I guess, critical, people getting very, very upset with Israel, controversial, by publicly supporting Israel. And you had to deal with your players and people in Alabama and the school and the press. It didn't stop Jackson Dart. It didn't stop you. How ugly did it get for you?
The ugliest thing, Sid, that happened to me was during the last election with Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I publicly supported the president for a number of reasons. I'm conservative. I'm a capitalist. I believe he did a great job the first time and has done an amazing job the second time. And I was really proud of our country for electing an African-American president twice in Barack Obama, because I'm a basketball coach. 90% of my players are African-American men. I'm constantly looking for role models and examples for them about why they can be great in spite of the racism and some of the obstacles. I don't want to have excuses. This is the greatest country in the world. You can be anything you want. Barack Obama is an example of that. And for the same reason, I was proud that our country nominated, even though it was crazy the way they did it, an African-American woman to be the president of our country. I just thought she was a failed candidate. I thought she could take our country in the wrong direction. And I publicly came out and supported Donald Trump. There were articles in the CNN and USA Today. Why would an African-American man ever go play for this basketball coach? Because he's a racist. Just because I supported Trump over Kamala, maybe a racist. Of course, that's nothing could be farther from the truth. As far as Israel in the South, let me tell you something, brother. In the South, Israel still commands support. We are losing support with our younger Christian friends because of that replacement theology being taught. But I tell you, in the South, and in the Republican Party in the South, support for Israel is still very strong.
Oh, it's so good to hear that, because I have to imagine that where you live in Alabama, not a huge Jewish community, right, Bruce?
No, not a huge community, but a huge Christian community. A Christian community that embraces the Jewish roots of their Christian faith. You go to church in the South, and about a third of their service is from the Old Testament. And they recognize that every disciple that wrote the New Testament was Jewish.
That's right.
And died horrific deaths to bring Christianity to the world. Don't say thank you, but stop hating us.
But you would think, and Jesus Christ, of course, was Jewish. You think right there that would stop all of the hate, but it's not. It's not stopping.
The two most popular Jews in Alabama.
Right.
Me and Jesus.
You and Jesus. How about that? Bruce Pearl and Jesus Christ. So, talking about politics and President Trump, you were really considering, and I thought you were going to do it, running for that Tommy Tuberville seat. Tommy, another great Auburn coach. He was the football coach. He won. He was the senator in your state. And he said, okay, I'm going to be governor. Now we all know, of course, that he is on his way to being governor. Tommy Tuberville, he's a Republican candidate in the state of Alabama coming up in November. And you really were seriously considering running for that vacant Tuberville seat in Congress in Alabama, to the point, I'm going to admit this on air, I'm sorry, Bruce, you called me. I was so honored. I really was. I was so honored that you called me for my opinion early on in your decision-making process, and I told you to do it. I said, look, you've got nothing else to prove in college basketball. You're already one of the all-time greats, Final Fours, and huge wins over big schools. You should do it. And I thought you were, but you didn't. And why was that the case again?
Well, Sid, I think it's very much the case of why you are considering, a run for the mayor of New York. You would be an unbelievable mayor. You know that you would love everybody in the city, and because you love this city, and you would pour your heart and soul into it. At the same time, it would be a tremendous sacrifice for your family and the risks that are associated with it. And the question you and I talked about is the same one that I would talk to you about. Okay, if you were to be the mayor, while you could do an amazing job, look at the platform you have right now and look at the difference that you're currently able to make in the lives of New Yorkers by providing with the news and information on this #1 radio show. You are still making an incredible impact, and that was sort of what you and I talked about. And one of the reasons why I decided not to run for Senate is, look, there are 100 votes in the United States Senate. The Republican Alabama vote will be MAGA. It'll be conservative. It'll be faith. It'll be family. It'll be pro-Israel. And those are the issues that matter most to me. And so I said, you know what? My vote's not going to matter in the United States Senate, but my voice still does. And so that's why now I am no longer coaching basketball, but I'm involved in coaching America and coaching Christians to embrace the Jewish roots of their Christian faith, and coaching Jewish people to embrace their Jewish life. Because listen, Sid, God's our only hope. At the end of the day, if we would simply go about, what would God have me do today? If that's what we would do, every one of us, we would have peace and we would have prosperity.
Yeah.
But that's not the case right now in the world, and that is what I'm going to teach.
And your son, it's still close to basketball because your beautiful boy, Steven, he's coaching the same team you coached, and another championship came your way. You've got a bunch of SEC championships and Final Four appearances, Bruce, and your son, Steven, year number 1, wins the NIT championship. So you may not be coaching, but it doesn't get any closer when your boy is out there coaching and enjoyed great success in year number 1.
Sid, how about this? In the last 9 years, 6 Auburn basketball teams have won a championship.
Wow.
6 different teams. SEC tournament, SEC regular season, or this year when Steven won the NIT championship. I was so proud of him for keeping that team together. New Jersey's own Tahad Pettiford played phenomenal in March. And I know it wasn't the NCAA tournament, but the end of the season, there were 6 teams that were still playing college basketball. The 4 teams that were at the Final Four, and Tulsa and Auburn in Indianapolis playing for an NIT championship. And, of course, growing up in Boston and being on the Big East for so many years, I knew how important that tournament was. I know what it always had meant. And so it was a great ending. And I'm very proud of Steve. He's doing a tremendous job.
Well, he is. 2 more will let you run. I know you're going to march on Sunday at the Israeli Day Parade. So am I. I do it every year. So do you. I bumped into you actually last year afterwards at the Fifth Avenue Synagogue before their big conference. I guess we're doing it this year at Park East, not Fifth Avenue. But regardless, you'll be marching on Sunday. The big story in New York today is that the mayor has decided not to. Now, you heard what I said Wednesday night. I don't want him to. Why would I want somebody who outwardly hates the Jewish people marching with us? Now, he contends it's not the Jewish people, it's the Israeli government. Well, that's nonsense. This parade on Sunday is going to be packed with New Yorkers, the people that he claims to love, right? I love every New Yorker. I'm here for every New Yorker, Jewish or not. Well, that's who's marching on Sunday. I'm not asking Mamdani, this lying prick, to go to Tel Aviv and march, okay? I'm not asking Mamdani to go to Jerusalem and march. It's Fifth Avenue. It's New York City. It's his city. But he's been exposed. You see, eventually, if you talk to an anti-Semite long enough, they'll tell you I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just anti-Zionist. They'll tell you they love the Jews. Eventually they're exposed. Again, if this was in Jerusalem, I get it, Mayor Mamdani, but how do you not go in a city where you won that has this many Jews? How do you explain that?
There is no explanation for it other than the fact that he hates Jews, he hates Israel. Will he march in the St. Patrick's Day parade?
He did. He already did. He walked right. Actually, he did. He walked right past me at the St. Patrick's Day parade.
He'll be at the Pride Parade. He will be at all the other parades for everybody else in the city except his Jews. And so it is. But you know what? At least he's told us exactly who he is. And the one thing that we can't allow is for them to separate the difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. There is absolutely no difference. We may not love everything that Vladimir Putin is doing in Russia and Ukraine. In fact, we are all opposed to it. But that doesn't give us the right to drive a truck through a Russian restaurant. There's no consistency except the consistency of anti-Semitism. And it's unfortunate because, unfortunately, our leaders, people will listen to them. And it all goes back to this. If there were a Palestinian state, there would be no Jews allowed because a Jew would be put to death by simply walking the streets of a Palestinian state. And yet in the state of Israel, there are 2 million Arabs and Muslims living their best lives as citizens, as members of the court, as members of the Knesset. 50% of the healthcare workers in the state of Israel are Muslim. When you walk down the streets of Tel Aviv, about 1 in every 4 persons look like they're Arab. You know why? Because they're Arab. So stop with the apartheid. Stop with the genocide. Stop with the bullshit. It is lies and propaganda. And that's why, Sid, when things calm down, people are going to go back to Israel, go back and visit, and simply see for themselves. Don't take your word for it. Don't take my word for it.
I can't wait to go back in 2 weeks. Finally, I'd be remiss. You are a great basketball coach. I don't care if you're coaching Saturday afternoon in Kentucky or a lot of your buddies like Rick Pitino who Of course, great college basketball coach, coached the Knicks. John Calipari also coached in the NBA. So many great college basketball coaches gave it a shot at the NBA level, and you're a big basketball guy. Knickerbockers, in all likelihood, will take on Oklahoma City only because the home team has won every game in that Western Conference Finals series. San Antonio forcing a Game 7, which will be played tomorrow night. Thunder, reigning champs, and the Knicks don't match up well. They got beat up Oklahoma City during the regular season. The Knicks did beat the Spurs during the regular season, but regardless of who comes out of the West, what do you think the Knicks' chances are of winning the NBA championship this year?
You know, Sid, they got a shot because they've got a couple things. They've got chemistry. They've got toughness. They've got tremendous size. They've got physicality and the ability to defend. They're a better team now than they were when they played OKC. And I think that the way Coach Brown is utilizing Karl Anthony Towns as a weapon both inside and outside, the elite defense of OG and Mikal Bridges. And then Brunson, he's just a baller. The ball is in his hands late in the game. He's going to go get a bucket. He's going to go make a play. Josh Hart, just a winner. I don't know. What's the deal with Robinson? What's the deal with the broken pinky?
I think he's out. I think he's going to be out, yeah. Yeah, he's done. Yeah.
Well, a little bit of rim protection and a little bit of physicality. But, no, look, the Knicks got a fighting chance, and I do think this could be a series of adjustments. Madison Square Garden is the toughest place to play in basketball right now. All right, so the Knicks they've got to find a way to go win Game 1. Right now, they got to go win Game 1 because OKC, while they're incredibly deep, they're going to be tired and they're going to be fatigued. And so that's going to be, to me, I know it's a game of adjustments. If they can win Game 1 and then sweep in Madison Square Garden and go up 3-1, they've got a chance.
I love that. And then maybe San Antonio, again, we don't know, but based upon the 6 games prior, looks like it'll be the Thunder. At any rate, Bruce Pearl, I can't wait to see you on Sunday. You look great. You're as tan as I am. When I saw you Wednesday night, you know, my favorite part of Wednesday night was every time you spoke, it was hilarious. You kept saying that Sid is basically the Jewish Donald Trump. You said that about 3 times. I loved it.
I hadn't figured that out until I spent a little bit more time hearing you, a little bit of your mannerisms, but your love of this country and your passion for life. And those are the 2 things that I jumped away with saying, he's the Jewish Donald Trump. The greatest compliment I could give you.
No, I know. That's my favorite moniker ever. I've been called the King of all Jews and King David, all these great things, but the Jewish Donald Trump. Bruce Pearl, an amazing conversation. You're always great. Can't wait to see you Sunday, buddy. Thank you so much. I love you.
God bless you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Bruce Pearl right there, the Hall of Fame college basketball coach. He's our first guest of probably 6 on this Friday.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
First of all, I want to thank Sid Rosenberg for putting excerpts of Beningo and myself on the program the last 2 days. I mean, not today, but yesterday and the day before. You know, Beningo and I do a program here twice a week. And Rosenberg put that baby up there, and good excerpt for a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes, talked about us on air in the morning on WABC. Fantastic job, Sid. Appreciate it. And by the way, what's very interesting is that I don't talk in glowing terms of Sid Rosenberg very often. I do when the time is right. I do. You know, I find him a little wearing, a little wearing on the nerves. But for the most part, he's a great guy. I can tell a good individual when I hear a good individual. I know a good heart when I hear a good heart. And Sid Rosenberg has a good heart. And again, if my choice is Sid Rosenberg and some crackpot candidate to run for mayor of my former city, when it comes up in 3.5 years, you can bet your bottom dollar that yours truly is going to cast his vote if he has one by that time.
That was Ralph Romeo. No one knows who he is except for his podcast audience and Joe Beningo, but I shouldn't say nobody, and his lovely wife, Cynthia, I guess is her name. I don't remember, but he always seems to find a little zing there. You know, he's got to talk about narcissism or talks a lot about himself, but then he quickly rebounds, you know, and says how much he loves me and all that. And I guess He understands that whether you're Don Imus or Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity, you name any great radio host, and every one of them was a narcissist. Every one of them. Every great president has been a narcissist. I don't care when you call me that. Call me that all day. Call me an Islamophobe all day. I don't care. I don't care. Because it's silly, this narcissist. What does that mean? Of course I talk about myself. This is my show. I talk about myself, my wife, my children, my friends, and politics, and sports, and news. And if I say I'm great, it's because I am. But thank you for the kind words, Ralph. And the mayor thing keeps popping up, man. That's the second time today already. Bruce Pearl brought it up unprovoked. Unprovoked. Earlier this morning, he was going to run for Tommy Tuberville's vacant Congress seat in Alabama because Tommy's going to be the next governor there. He decided not to, but he brought it up. And Brian Kilmeade is coming up next, and he'll probably bring it up. And K.T. McFarland is on after Brian, and she's already brought it up twice. Said I should take a very, very close eye on what's going on with Spencer Pratt out in Los Angeles. That big day is coming up on Tuesday. So let's take a break and get these two magnificent people on, Brian Kilmeade and the great K.T. McFarland.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Friday morning would not be the same without the 7 o'clock hour. Brian Kilmeade and K.T. McFarland. That's a great hour. And Brian, of course, does a phenomenal job following me each and every weekday morning here on ABC at 10 o'clock. And then he's got this TV thing. He's a big star. He's on Fox and Friends every morning, part of that great threesome. And then his own show, my favorite show, the best show on cable TV, 10 p.m. on Sunday nights, One Nation on Fox News. And this is particularly a great Friday because that show, which I love, I'll be back on. That's right, folks. The ratings are always huge, always. I'll be back on One Nation on Sunday night. Also, coming up later on this morning, I'll be live on Brian Kilmeade's radio show, heard on about 150 radio stations across America. So a lot of Rosenberg and Kilmeade, Brian, coming up.
210 radio stations. So that'll be great. You'll close out the final hour of the week, and it'll be great, Sid. Of course, it's unscripted, and you'll be in studio. And then an hour later, we'll be working on doing our show for for Sunday. And we have so much to talk about in New York. I mean, not only the good stuff like the Knicks, sorry about that, but Jackson Dart, we got to talk about that. And I also want to talk about this mayor not marching in Sunday's parade. Now, whatever you say, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going, but these are national stories now.
No, they're huge stories. And, of course, a week ago today, I was at that Mike Lawler event in Rockland County when Jackson Dart introduced President Trump. And I know it's old news now, but President Trump called me up on stage. He spotted me in the audience at the end of the rally. And he called me up, and he and I shared a very nice moment together. But I knew as soon as Dart introduced Trump, and he didn't just show up, by the way. President Trump invited Jackson Dart. The White House invited Jackson Dart, and it should matter. Like my friend Jason Whitlock, who has a very popular podcast, said earlier this week, hey, when black guys do it, Le'Veon Bell, Trump, nobody cared. Lawrence Taylor, Trump, nobody cared. A bunch of other guys as well. But when the white quarterback introduces Trump, people like Abdul Carter get angry. So the Giants called a team meeting. A bunch of players spoke, and John Harbaugh told his players, please keep this stuff in the locker room. But the big mouth, the big trouble was Abdul Carter, who was yet to make a big play for the Giants. How about sacking the opposing quarterback, Abdul, you jerk? Nobody got mad at you when you voted for Kamala Harris. In the meantime, the meeting on Wednesday, Abdul Carter, no show. Had some bullcrap family excuse. So the Giants seem like they put everything to rest, but not really, because the loudmouth was Abdul Carter. He was not even there on Wednesday, Brian.
Sid, good job. I did not know he did not show up. I know Brian Burns spoke and Thibodeau spoke, and I would say this. You brought up good points. I'm going to bring up another point. We watch all the LeBron James basically have a rally for Hillary Clinton, have a rally for Kamala Harris. No one says anything. They just expect it. And you know what? You do what you want. I don't think anything less of LeBron James. I'm not surprised he's voting for Hillary Clinton. I never thought about it again, but he's actually raising money. Jackson Dart is from a conservative area. He agrees with Trump. He likes Trump. You should not be embarrassed by that. Plus, we're over that. all the teams are showing up at the White House, almost all of them anyway, after they win a championship. They're having a good time. I have no idea if this guy named Saquon Barkley voted for Trump, but man, do they get along? They golf together. What is the problem with that? Barack Obama was introduced by Steph Curry. I don't have a problem with that. This is an honor. You're in New York. You're the New York Giants quarterback. Hey, you want to introduce the president? Of course I do. Are you kidding? Sure. Get up there. Plus, the president loves sports. This guy's no phony. He loves competitors. He's got the UFC octagon being built in his backyard right now. So I'm astounded. My hope is I don't want to read that Jackson Dart apologized. Please do not apologize. If you don't like that he said go Big Blue and associated with the Giants, let the Giants handle that. But he just says, hey, President of the United States, I'm in New York. How's it going? We're going to win a Super Bowl. Back to work. So that's it. And, Trump brought it up a little bit with the interview that's going to air this weekend. He said, great-looking guy, don't worry about the backlash, and he shouldn't. I don't want Jackson Dart to apologize. That is key.
I agree with you, and he's a good-looking guy. I was standing 10 feet from him, in great shape. You can see why it's hard to tackle him. Great legs, which President Trump brought up. He said, hey, ladies out there want to play men's sports. You want to tackle that guy? I don't think so. Then he said, hey, Jackson, stay out of this. It was very funny, but you're right about Trump in terms of being a big sports fan. He was on with me. You know that about 3 weeks ago, I was the first person to ask him about the Knicks. Now, at the time, the Knicks had just beaten the Philadelphia 76ers. Hadn't even played the Cleveland Cavaliers yet. And Trump said, look, this is a great team. They're great guys, and I really like Jim Dolan. I'm really happy for Jim Dolan. He mentioned Embiid. He knows his stuff. Then you get this doofus, wicked witch governor here in New York, Kathy Hochul, who signed her big budget yesterday. She comes out talking about a 93 championship team. They were a great team, no question about it. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong. The problem is they were the Chicago Bulls, not our New York Knicks. She's 20 years too late. So if you're Kathy Hochul, instead of picking on President Trump or the fact he didn't go to Junior's wedding, how about shutting your mouth? You clearly know nothing about the Knicks. Her and Mamdani, the two biggest Knick fan phonies in the country today.
So did you see all the video that popped up of businessman Donald Trump showing up in the 90s to a Knick game and Marv Albert noticing him? Did you see the Isaiah Thomas pass him the ball and in a suit hit a jump shot on Madison Square Garden in the 90s? So, ladies and gentlemen, he's a legitimate sports fan. He's actually made himself a soccer fan. He's actually, I was at the club championships last year, and he's asking questions to the FIFA president, like great questions. I'm a soccer guy. And he's like, why are they overlapping here? Why don't they go up here? Why do they keep diving like that? And I'm saying to myself, this guy wants to be no soccer in as much as he does basketball and these other things. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities for people. Like, for example, when Hillary Clinton runs for Senate, she's suddenly a Yankee fan. Nobody thinks she's a Yankee fan. This is not a case. They don't even know. They just know that whatever Trump does, they just think that he's not telling the truth and he's vulnerable to some type of political attack. But she's totally inept.
Inept. And you brought up the soccer. I'll go here quickly because I know you love the sport, and you were there at Pier 17. I saw you on South Street last week, or this week when we announced our 26-man roster for our team. I had Andrew Giuliani on this show a couple of days ago. He's the point man. He's doing a great job getting us ready for World Cup action here in New York. 26-man roster. I don't know these guys, but names that they were upset were left off the team. People like Tessman, I guess, Diego Luna. You know these players. What do you think about the Americans' chance of at least competing, if not winning, the World Cup?
Okay, for those people who are sports fans and are open to it, some people just hate soccer, and there's nothing you can do about it. I played since I was 5, and there were certain people that just say, it's a foreign sport. They're still on. There's a few left. I think we've gotten past that. But having said that, if you just want to know who these guys are, just go on HBO. There's a 2-part series on HBO Max that go through when they blew it in 2016 and they didn't advance. They lose to Trinidad, and they rebuilt the team. They go to Qatar and got to the knockout round, and they tied England, the number 2 team in the world, which is pretty awesome because they dominated England. That's what they're capable of. So that's real. This same team, nucleus, is just older and better. They have 11 teams playing in the top leagues in the world. We used to be lucky to have 2, and they used to be there basically coming off the bench. Now you got these guys making an impact overseas in Germany and Italy and in England. So it's pretty awesome. And they're American-born, American-trained, American-bred, and they just say, we're better than the MLS. We can go over there and play, and they're doing it. So this guy from Argentina can get these guys to jail. Remember, they're not the best players, Sid. You want the best team, how they work together. So working together, maybe there's some talent that you just mentioned that should be on the team, but I'm just going to trust the Argentinian coach is going to be the coach of AC Milan when he's done with this. And I think he's got these guys. If you get them close, with 75,000 chanting USA, USA, they get out of the knockout round in first, which they beat Paraguay last year. They beat Australia last year. And in Turkey, they beat them the last 2 times they played them. And they have a tie. They get out of that round in first place. You are not going to be able to find a seat in a sports bar, let alone a stadium. That's how excited Americans will be to see them in the knockout round. And just like the Knicks, not many people, they look at the Knicks go 3 seed. Hopefully they'll get past win a couple of rounds and maybe get lucky and upset the Celtics. Well, who thought the 76ers was going to beat the Celtics? Who thought the Knicks was going to win 11 in a row? I think it was least likely for the Knicks to win 11 in a row for the USA to get to the quarterfinals. You get to the quarterfinals in soccer, you can play against a better team and you wait for one counterattack, and that's the game. That's the frustrating and the great thing about soccer. Frustrating because you could be better than a team and you could outshoot a team and lose to that team. And he put 10 defenders on the roster for a reason. It's defense first. So I think you got a situation where I think Americans can rally around these guys. You get America going, and I'm telling you, it'll be the hotter than a Super Bowl ticket if you can get them to the semis or even the quarters.
Brian Kilmeade right here, and the World Cup less than 2 weeks away, and the NBA Finals. You mentioned the Knicks, only 5 days away. We're going to find out who they're going to play tomorrow. The San Antonio Spurs held serve, in this Western Conference Finals. Unlike the East, where teams won big games on the road, Cleveland blew out Detroit for a Game 7 win. The Knickerbockers have won 3 closeout games on the road, all by 30 or more. In this Western Conference Finals, the home team has held serve every time. Spurs win last night. That's now 3-3. You got to think the reigning champ Oklahoma City Thunder will win tomorrow. That's who the Knicks will play next week. But you don't know. They're down to one game. Wednesday night, the Knicks and Spurs will start that series. But let's keep it local, too. I mentioned the fact that Mamdani and Hochul are 2 phony Knick fans just a couple of minutes ago, Brian. And we've got the Israeli Day Parade coming up on Sunday. Of course, I'll be marching proudly. I do every year. Bruce Blakeman, Mazi Phillip, all your folks in Nassau County, we march together. And it turns out the mayor's not going to march. Thank God. I don't want him marching. He is a terrorist sympathizer. He hates the Jews. No matter what he says, he hates us. And I hate him. So I'm glad he's not marching. He should march because whether he likes the Israeli government or not, he has a lot of Jewish citizens who are going to be there on Sunday that he represents. So he's a liar. Forget about Bibi. Forget about Israel. He should be there for Jewish New Yorkers on Sunday, but I don't want him anyway. Jessica Tisch goes, he's not marching, but I am proudly. When she threw that word proudly in there, she basically stuck it up the mayor's ass. You realize that, right?
I hope so. I just want her to stay. Selfishly, can't believe she is, but selfishly, I want her to stay. But I wonder how much longer she can take it when they stop. These academies are coming out. They're not filling up like they're supposed to. He's not financing like they should. Now they're not cooperating with ICE at all, just like what's happening in New Jersey. So, look, he doesn't even know how to play the game. People say he's a skilled politician. Really? Where was he at was it Cardinal Hicks's coronation? Just decides not to show up first time ever. 1964, since 1964, there's been an Israeli Day Parade. Every mayor has shown up. This guy's not going to. So he's not even playing the game. So my hope is that Democrats in New York City understand that this guy's got to be 4 and done. 4 and done. And then we need Sid to rise up like Spencer Pratt and take this city back while still doing the radio show. So you could still do the morning show and be mayor.
I love that.
I'm going to talk to John Catsimatidis for it. Why not?
You mentioned Spencer Pratt. K.T. McFarland, who's coming up next, actually said on this show this week, she goes, Sid, you got to watch the Spencer Pratt race. And, of course, that big primary in California for both Pratt running for mayor and Hilton running for governor comes up on Tuesday. Both of those are jungle primaries. They get down to the last 2. She goes, watch what Pratt does closely. If he wins, you got to grab his social media team, hire them here, and then announce you're running for mayor. I'm getting people every day, big people. No, not kidding. Laura Trump, Bruce Blakeman all want me to run. We'll see. But you're right. He's got to be for and done if this city is going to be saved. And Bruce Blakeman, quite frankly, has to beat Kathy Hochul if we're going to save our state. Now, again, on your radio show today, very excited. On your TV show Sunday night, what can we expect when we put Fox News on at 10 p.m. besides me on Sunday night?
Harvey Levin, I want to go inside what's happening in Los Angeles and from the celebrity culture. Do you know Leo DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx, Paris Hilton have all pushed for Spencer Pratt? What is actually going on there in the rebuilding? I thought he'd be the perfect person to start with. You're going to be a featured guest, too. I got the Ruthless podcast guys are going to be on. Jamie Lissow, I think one of the funniest comedians legitimately in the country, is going to be with us. And Miranda Devine's going to be there. But almost as big as the World Cup final, almost as big as the Super Bowl or you and the Israeli Day Parade, people are still talking about October 17th at Westbury Music Fair, where we go. The Uniting the States tour will put down stakes in the round. And Sid Rosenberg's going to come to Long Island, and we're going to bring history to life in the Uniting the States book that's going to be out. And then I'm going to build 6 skits around it. And Sid, we're still figuring out how many to use you in, but we're going to bring that to life. I'm actually on this weekend in Reno, Nevada. Going to be leaving right after the show, but be back to do the Sunday show.
Fantastic. Sounds exciting. I can't wait for October the 17th. And more importantly for now, I can't wait for this afternoon, the opportunity to do your big-time radio show over 200 stations across America and your amazing TV show on Sunday night. What can I say, Brian Kilmeade? I love you. I will stay within myself. Don't worry. I've got it. I've got it. I got 3 big shows today. You're the absolute best, Brian Kilmeade. Thank you so much.
Go get him, Sid.
There he is. Brian Kilmeade does a great job after me each and every weekday morning at 10 a.m. here on 77 WABC, Fox and Friends, One Nation, 10 p.m. Sunday nights. The aforementioned K.T. McFarland. She's coming up next on the Friday edition of Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Sid and Friends in the Morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
There are other people who do want me to march because, let's be honest, no disrespect to anybody I just mentioned, including a guy running for governor, there was nobody more popular at that parade than me. Nobody.
So who are you marching with now? You've decided it's the kosher guru.
Well, it's always the Nassau County guys. He's part of that crew.
Right.
Gabe. Blakeman, Phillip, Guru, Abraham, and others. But other people are reaching out to me, so...
Do you know, will you try to out Jewish star Mazi Phillip? Because I know she always wears this huge...
I never do that.
Jewish star. Her neck almost falls over from it.
I know. Well, so does Jessica Tisch.
Yeah.
She wears a huge muggin, David.
Yeah.
And then sometimes Gabe Boxer shows up in like a Jewish star jacket. I did wear a T-shirt one year that said, New York stands with Israel, which is nonsense because we really don't.
Not anymore, yeah.
Right. But otherwise, I don't Jew myself out. They know who I am. I'm the only bald, tan guy, basically, in the parade. So I have 2 or 3 other organizations and people that have reached out to me, and I'll try to find a way to do a little bit with everybody, okay? It's a big day. So 11:30, you said, is that right?
That's right.
Are you coming? You're Jewish.
I don't know.
Yeah. You'll probably watch it.
Nobody's asked me to march with them yet.
Go to some bar in Williamsburg and watch a soccer game with Spike Lee and the mayor.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Screw the Jews.
Arsenal, is that the game? That's the
Arsenal.
team
They love that team, yeah. Enough with the Jews. I got to tell you, lately I've been really into these out-of-state races. That's when you know you're really getting serious about this job. I never cared before. The only race I cared about was Trump. But cities and, Congress people, I never cared. But right now I'm rooting so hard for Tommy Tuberville to be the next governor of Alabama. I rooted my ass off for that anti-Semite jerk-off Thomas Massey to lose, which he did in Kentucky. I rooted against Bill Cassidy. And I'm rooting in a big way for, obviously, Alex Sedan in Jersey, but Spencer Pratt. Like, I really want Pratt to make it on Tuesday. He doesn't win the election, but he gets there if he's one of the final 2. Same thing with Steve Hilton for governor. So I'm finding myself really caught up in these California races and rooting really hard. I don't want California. My friend Stella Escobedo was on a couple of days ago. She said it's worse here than in New York. She's in both places quite a bit. She said, Sid, it's worse here. There's more homeless in Los Angeles. It's brutal. I said, how can it be worse? We've got Mamdani and Hochul, she said. We've got Bass and Newsom. It's worse. So let's go, Pratt. Let's go, Hilton. I know K.T. McFarland, the genius, 4 different presidents, most recently President Trump, Fox News, bunch of times every week, on this show every Friday. I know you're paying close attention to California, yes?
Yeah, and the reason I've been so impressed, not only with the, everybody's been impressed with the videos and the viral ads and stuff, but Brian Kilmeade said, he said to me, go listen to his interview with Joe Rogan. There's a 3-hour interview, and Spencer Pratt talks to Joe Rogan for 3 hours, and he talks very specifically about what's wrong with the fire department, what's wrong with the Palisades, what's wrong with the fire, why did it happen, why were the reservoirs empty when they needed them, when they knew there would be fires. And then Spencer Pratt talks in very specific terms about the homeless problem in Los Angeles. He says it's not a homeless problem, it's a drug problem, and then goes through the fixes he would make. So the reason I want you to look at that race and watch what happens is because you, like a Spencer Pratt, like a Donald Trump, like a Ronald Reagan, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, the 2 most successful presidents, and certainly in my lifetime, and 2 of the most successful presidents in American history, they're not politicians. They did something else. They did something else before, and they were very successful at it. And so they came to the job with a very different attitude, a very different approach. That's why I like Spencer Pratt. He's never done politics, but he's got a lot of common sense, and he's done an enormous amount of research, and he has a plan. And that's why I think that you ought to take it all seriously. Look at it really seriously, because you know New York. You have a plan, and you got to be articulate about the plan, which you're very capable of doing. That's the kind of person who changes the country. It's a Ronald Reagan. It's a Donald Trump. It's somebody who's not part of groupthink.
It's an honor that you put me in the same sentence as I'm being honest, especially you, KT, because I've been a fan of yours for 30 years, literally. So thank you. That meant a lot to me. And I think you're right. I think, maybe not me, but certainly people like Trump and Reagan and Spencer Pratt, when they're not lifelong politicians and they're just common sense, successful businessmen. Pratt happens to be a reality star, which is funny. But I think we're going to see more and more people like that have great success. Look at Tommy Tuberville. I just mentioned him. I want him to be the next governor of Alabama. He's a football coach. Great football coach.
And he's awesome. And he's I've met him a number of times and briefed him. He's terrific. He's really smart, but he has a gut feeling about issues. And he sticks with it, and he is fearless.
He is.
And that's the great thing about great leaders. They're fearless. They don't care if the mob is screaming against them. They're going to do what they believe is right. And then they're going to convince you why they think it's right. And then they're going to do it, and then they're going to succeed.
Well, they'll either convince you or they'll continue to do it and not care. Like President Trump of Iran, he has not convinced everybody, not even close. And we have this same conversation every week, and it's only because I talk to a lot of people. I go to events. People talk to me in the street. I am social media, and they go, I love Trump too, but if I get one more message that says, I love Trump too, but, okay, and I don't do that. I stick by the president, and whatever he does, I'm with him. I don't love everything. I don't. But a lot of those messages, I love Trump, but especially with Iran. I keep telling people, oh, it's going to be great. Prices are going to come down. And they're like, Sid, we've been hearing this for months, okay? We don't want to hear it anymore. We want to see it. And that is the dilemma we are stuck in right now. Another ceasefire extension they're talking about, maybe another 60 days. And for all the folks who tell me at the Pentagon, a few, that we're stuck. That's why we want all these extensions, because we really can't make a move at this point. It's like a chess game. We're going to kill a lot of people, right? That's what we'll do if we actually send troops on the ground to get that enriched uranium, if we really bomb Tehran the way we want to with the Strait. So this is a chess game, and a lot of folks right now think we're stuck. Not winning, stuck.
I don't think we're stuck. I don't think we've won. I think we're set up for success. But how does that success get defined? To regime change, where we forcibly change the regime, where we kill all the mullahs, kill all the IRGC, then we're stuck with a country that we shouldn't be stuck governing. They should govern themselves. They're one of the smartest people in the world. 93 million people, internet savvy, smart guys, been suppressed by the IRGC and the mullahs. Let them govern themselves. But you have to help them to that. I mean, to me, the best thing that could happen is there's a slow rolling coup, that we get a nuclear deal, The mullahs are greatly weakened. The IRGC is defanged. We are empowering the people who want to do business with the United States. The United States goes in and develops the energy industry, which has been completely abandoned and ignored by Iran, except as a cash machine. And then you have the Iranian people take over slowly. That is a possibility. Is it a strong possibility? We don't know yet. One thing we don't want to do is have Iran be Afghanistan redux or Iraq redux, where we get rid of everybody, and then we have to be an occupying force and a governing force, and we're worried about the water filtration systems. That's not our job. Our job is to set it up so the Iranian people can take it over themselves. Meanwhile, open the Strait of Hormuz, get rid of the nukes, and have a mechanism whereby you are sure that you have to not just to make these agreements. You know, Iran says, we're not going to develop nuclear weapons. Well, you don't believe them, but you have to verify it. And so we have to figure out how to verify it. Maybe that's to take a small number of people to go in on the ground. Maybe it's to go with other countries to go find out all the stuff that's buried under the rubble. How do we get our hands on it? How do we make sure that it's not something that Iran can keep and then can use eventually for a nuclear weapon? And then we have to have the enforcement capability. The problem with the Iran nuclear deal, one of the many problems with the flawed Iran nuclear deal that President Obama signed, is there was no enforcement. They could break their word, and nobody could do anything about it.
And they did.
So we have to, and they did.
Yeah.
And they did time and time again.
Right.
And then how was our solution? We pretended they didn't.
Of course, no.
You got to have an enforcement mechanism.
You have to. I told you I had a good buddy. His name was Ben Weenthal. He wrote for the Jerusalem Post. He split his time between Berlin or Munich, I forget, and Israel. And he would DM me on Instagram and go, they found more uranium, or they found more of this or more of that. And I think he did it 54 times in year one.
Jeez.
So I brought him on the air all the time. He'd say, on the air in Florida. Nobody was listening, but he would tell me time and time again with proof that Iran was not paying attention. And like you said, Obama and Kerry, they acted like they didn't know about it. They knew about it. Let me move over to New York. You're a great New Yorker, and you're pro-Israel. And I have to tell you that when I meet a person who's Christian or not Jewish, and they're pro-Israel, it really makes my heart warm. It's too easy for the Jews to be pro-Israel, even though a lot of Jews are not. I am really warmed by folks that are not, because they keep saying that if we're going to win this battle, which we're losing now, if we're going to win, we need the Christian people to be with us, and most are. I know you are. When you see this mayor decide not to come to this parade on Sunday, and he has the nerve to blame Israel, like I said earlier, KT, I'm not asking Mamdani to go march in a parade in Tel Aviv. I get it. I'm not asking Mamdani to go march in a parade in Jerusalem. I get it. This is on Fifth Avenue in New York City, right? All the Jews that he claims, right? And he claims, I'm the mayor for everybody. I love my Jewish New Yorkers. Well, moron, this parade is a parade for Jewish New Yorkers. It's not in Haifa. So what's his real excuse?
Well, it's the excuse that a lot of people have seized on. It's anti-Semitism in another guise. It's, I'm anti-Zionism. I'm anti-Israel. I think Israel's done terrible things in the Middle East, the poor Palestinian people. It's just a front and a guise, an acceptable excuse for being anti-Semitic. I think it's just anti-Semitism.
That's all it is.
Happening in Europe, it's all it is. It's anti-Semitism. Because if it wasn't anti-Semitism, he'd be marching in that parade. He'd be marching in, the St. Patrick's Day parade, the Columbus Day parade, the Jewish American parade. I mean, he would be marching in all those parades because that's New York. It's a melting pot. But not for him. It's a melting pot for everybody but Israel and the Jews.
That's right. And he did march. He did march in the St. Patrick's Day parade. I was standing out there when him and Jessica Tisch walked right by me. But you may remember what a louse this guy is, that he used St. Patrick's Day, okay? St. Patrick's. He used that morning to pump up his Muslim religion. He did a whole speech about the Muslims from City Hall the day of St. Patrick's Day. Remember that?
Yep. And then let me just ask you, if you were mayor in New York, and, there are a lot of steps you got to get to before you would be to that point, but you have the raw material and the ability to do it. And as Brian Kilmeade said, keep your radio show going. You have a platform on which to do it. Yeah. If there was a Muslim American parade, would you march in that?
In 100, in a second. in 1 second. I make this point all the time.
Okay,
I've got nothing against the Muslim people. My issue is radical Islam, and this mayor is 100% radical Islam. When you support the face of campus terrorism like Mahmoud Khalil, who should be deported, that's not just any Muslim guy. That's radical Islam. When you talk about the Jews as being genocidal, that's radical Islam. I have no issue with the Muslim people. I'd march with them in a heartbeat. None. I've said this time and time again. I'm still called an Islamophobia. It's fine. But the truth is, no, I have no issue with the Muslim people. My issue is radical Islam, and this mayor is a radical Islamist. Bottom line.
Yeah, and so he's not going to march in an Israeli parade. I mean, in a Jewish American Israeli parade, and you would march in a Muslim parade. It says it right there.
Right there. And Paul DiGiacomo, who's a great guy, used to run the DEA-KT, which is not drugs. It is the Detective Endowment Association. He says that part of the reason why he's not marching is he's afraid his wife is going to kick his ass. And if that's true, that's not good either, because we already know his wife is a vile, wretched anti-Semite. Either way, he's got no excuse. Again, this parade is not in Israel. It's on Fifth Avenue. Jewish people voted for you. I hate them, but they did. You should be there for them. Bottom line. What are you doing this weekend? Anything fun?
Actually, I'm in Tallahassee right now with my daughter. They're voting on the Florida budget, and then they're going to be discussing DeSantis's proposal to eliminate, at least to reduce and eventually eliminate property taxes for Florida state residents on their primary residence. So
Amazing.
It's exciting.
That is amazing. It's sad that I know that Trump and DeSantis are not best buddies. They're still not. Trust me, they're still not. But
no, they're not.
No, but no one can argue that Ron DeSantis is a great governor and has done an amazing job. So does it look like, your daughter would know this too, does it look like Byron Donalds might be the next governor?
Oh, I think 100%. Fiona, my daughter, State Representative Fiona McFarland, was the first person in Florida to endorse him.
Oh, wow. Okay, how about that?
Friends. She's from Sarasota. He's from Naples. They're close friends. She's a good friend of his wife, Erica's. Yeah, and Byron Donalds would be awesome.
Yeah, I like him too. I like him, but I love you. You're great again, as always. Enjoy your time with your beautiful daughter down in Florida. We'll do it again next week, KT. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you're great. KT McFarland right there, and love having her on every Friday. It's a real honor to have KT, and she really wants me to run. It comes up every week now, unprovoked. Justin? So.
Well, then maybe you should do it.
That's the third consecutive guest today who mentioned that. Bruce Pearl, Brian Kilmeade, and KT, all unprovoked.
It's got to be like the third consecutive week she's brought that.
I know. Yeah. Are you telling her to say it?
No.
Okay.
Totally on her own volition.
Okay. All right, that wraps up, this hour. We're going to get Nomi with the news. We've got two more great guests still stopping by. The great attorney, Alan Dershowitz. We love Alan. We're also going to talk to John Solomon. This guy's really great. You hear him a lot on Katz and Cosby, but he's coming back for a third time on this show. So a few more great guests still to come as a Friday edition of Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Sid and Friends in the Morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
John Solomon is a regular on this show now. He was on with Katz and Cosby 1,000 times, and I heard him. And I said, Justin, this guy John's good. And Justin goes, yeah, he's good. He's on with them all the time. I said, let's book him. And I think he's been on now 3 times in the last couple of weeks. He's back today. John, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. My whole family loves your show, by the way.
Well, I love your whole family. Thank you. I love you, too. Thank you for telling me that. That means a lot to me. John has millions of followers. He's a really smart guy, and you listen to him for 10 minutes, you know why people love him. Let's get right to Iran. I just had KT McFarland on moments ago, but I want to get your take, too. I've been saying, and no one loves Trump more than me. I was with him again last Friday. I love him. I adore him. He does nothing wrong in my eyes, but we're stuck. That's the word. People hate using that word. They hate it. Yeah. They'll use stalemate, other words. We're stuck. That's why we keep talking about more extensions.
That's a term no one wants to hear, quagmire. But
quagmire, right. So what term would you use?
Well, listen, I think there's stuff. One of the things you have to watch in a moment like this is that what we see publicly may not be what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think that's one of the big things I'm learning in my reporting. So right now it looks like we're in a quagmire. Iran looks like they want to wait us out. They play the cat and mouse game. They surface. We bomb them. They stop for a few days. Behind the scenes in the private negotiations, the Iranians are sending a very different signal in the private chats with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and that is, we are tired, we're exhausted, we don't have the ability to fight you long term, our economy is in a very difficult shape, but we're bifurcated. Our leadership is scattered across the country hiding because if we talk on a phone, you kill us. We need to get consensus, but there are a growing number of civilian leaders, crazy mullahs, that feel like they've had enough of this conflict and they want to make a deal. President Trump is incredibly cognizant that Iran has a 47-year, now 48-year record of being untrustworthy on every issue. However, the signals that his experts on the front lines are getting, he thinks it's worth letting it play out a little while. He's not going to let it play out a long time. He's going to let it play out a little bit. The intelligence they do get when they get intercepts is that Iran is beaten down, their economy is really worried. Even the IRGC, with all of their rhetoric, is starting to feel the pain. In fact, some of the IRGC has fled up towards Afghanistan. Gives you a sense that they might be exiting the country to get out of Dodge. So I think the president wants to let this play out, but he is not in any way wet behind the ears and about to be taken for a bad deal. He will only make a deal if the three principles that he has put out there are met, which is no nuclear program, you get rid of the uranium, and the Strait of Hormuz has to be open. Now, he is willing to say Iran can have control of the Strait of the Hormuz. You have to leave it open. It has to be a free and open passageway. So that is the Iranians know that those are three non-movable ideas, and they still have agreed to the 60-day ceasefire. So what we hear publicly and what we see with our eyes is menacing, but behind the scenes there are signals that they would like to make a deal. President Trump will play that out, but he is not afraid to start slinging missiles. And I think the next time he goes after Iran, if Iran acts badly going forward, I think you'll see the deployment for the first time in American history of laser weapons from space. You want a little shock and awe, Iran? We'll show you shock and awe. Those weapons are able to melt down into the ground in big ways and cause massive damage that the world has never seen before. So if Iran wants to test the next level of American weaponry, they might get a bad taste of it soon. I think in the short term, the president feels the signals in the private setting are legitimate. He's going to let them play out, but he is not going to make a bad deal. And one of the things that was very important yesterday with Secretary Bessent, he said no sanctions relief until we have the uranium and the nuclear program is ended. So if they were not giving away stuff like Barack Obama did, you're going to have to make a major concession that the world has waited for 2 decades. Before you get any sanctions relief. I think that's the fourth now line in the sand. Iran's aware of that, made this deal. So let's see where it gets. I think we should give the president a little bit more time. Iran is unbelievably untrustworthy, but I do think they're more beaten down than the media has led us to believe.
I'll give him all the time he wants. I'm not the problem. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote for a Republican come November. I'm going to vote for J.D. or Marco come November. I'm not the problem. You said more than once during that amazing little talk just now. It was great. Yeah. It was detailed. It was beautiful. That he's willing to wait it out. Okay, he's getting killed. His approval rating is under 40% in a lot of spots, especially with the economy. He has said, I don't care, but he has to care because we cannot afford to lose the midterms, and the longer he waits this out, the more bleak that looks.
Yeah, I think you saw the markets react yesterday to this thing. Quite frankly, the economy would get worse if we had to sling another round of missiles. So he's aware of that. He's willing to do it. Not afraid to do it. But I think what you saw yesterday was a significant easing of oil pressures. If the Strait of Hormuz can be opened in the next 10 days, as this agreement gets set up, the oil prices will come crashing down. By the 4th of July, they'll be back down in the low 3s and maybe even into the 2s in some places. That will send a signal to the world that the president delivered what he said. We got to get rid of the military capabilities. Peace brings a dividend. The dividend will be cheaper gas prices. People will go up. When you look at some of the polls that have Trump post are below 40%. The Republican sample is often down around 25, 26%. Nowhere near what it was in the sampling that you would take before a presidential election. So some of these polls are juiced downward to make President Trump's approval look worse than it is. When you look at the baseline of his base, he's in a very strong position And perhaps, in fact, CNN had an amazing story the other day that President Trump may have the single largest swing of Republican support of any figure in modern American history. So the base is still with him. How you measure public sentiment is often a result of how you sample. If you bring down the Republican sample and you got 26% Republican and 33% Democrat, which some of these polls have, of course Trump's going to be looking under 40%. In the polls I've seen where the samples are much closer, he's at 46 to 48%, where the sample's more normal. And I don't think his approval ratings are nearly as bad. And you look and say, hey, well, he must be weak and lame duck, bad thing. He just pulled off 2 Senate incumbents. He literally threw out 2 Senate incumbents. That doesn't happen in American history very often.
No.
One of them lost by 30 points.
No, listen, there's no question that in the party, he's the man. He still is. MAGA is alive and well in the party. Thomas Massey, see ya. Bill Cassidy, see ya. 5 lawmakers in Indiana, see ya. So, and watch Steve Hilton do the same thing in California. Right. But that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the American people, the voters. They don't have the same confidence as some of these Congress races are. When it comes to November, I'm worried about these other places. He can't go out there and advocate for every single candidate. Maybe he will across the country. But I hear you. Let's see what happens. He fixes this. The numbers will come down, and we'll take it from there. You're a New Yorker, and I've had this conversation with every guest I had today. Certainly you deserve to have it, John Solomon. When the mayor says, I'm not marching Sunday, okay, you hate Bibi? I think you're a moron, but fine. You hate Israel? Fine. But you know what? This parade, as I said to K.T. McFarland, Brian Kilmeade, and others, it's not in Tel Aviv. It's not in Jerusalem. It's on Fifth Avenue in New York City, where you won, you moron. You won here in New York City. So how could he possibly use Israel as an excuse not to march with Jews in New York?
Well, listen, he can't do so because his political views are exactly what we have always reported them to be. He doesn't like the Jewish people. He's distrustful of them. He has said it for years where he is. And so we judge people more by their actions than their words. And I think this is a loud action by the mayor, one of many. When you look at his 25-year rise from young man to this, it's clear that he has these views, and that these views are also predominant in his party. They're growing on the far left of the side. You got a candidate with a Nazi tattoo running in one state. You've got anti-Semitism protests and acts of anti-Semitism going on every day. And even beyond that, you've got Democrat lawmakers trying to help our enemies like Cuba get around American sanctions. The far left of the party is trapped in an ideology that is extremely fringe and far from middle America, and Mayor Mamdani continues to make statements with his actions. It doesn't matter how much words he speaks. His actions speak volumes, and I think New Yorkers have figured him out already.
2 more minutes. Now you got to run, John. I want your take on this governor race, and Hochul comes out and starts talking about the 93 championship Knicks, which never happened. That's fine. Listen, like I said a couple of days ago, if she really was going to lower taxes and crime was no longer an issue when she was fighting with Andrea Stewart Cousins and Hasty up and all, and I wouldn't care that she doesn't know anything about the Knicks. She's a liar. But none of that is true. So she's just a liar on every level. What are the chances today you give to Bruce Blakeman?
Listen, I think he's going to look a lot like the Zeldin campaign, which was so much closer than people ever imagined in 2022. You have a really remarkable dynamic going on. People are voting right now in New York by leaving the state, by leaving the city, by departing. That is usually the largest sign of distress that a state is under. When people start fleeing by the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions, you're seeing businesses start to pack up. They don't trust this whole idea of tax, and spend. And I think that the electorate is ripe for an upset. It's an uphill upset. Blakeman's going to have to execute a perfect strategy, particularly get out the vote. But you see what Spencer Pratt is doing in L.A. right now. A far-left city, a far-left state can easily be flipped by a Republican with the right messages. And I think the playbook for Blakeman may look a lot like what Spencer Pratt is doing in California. We'll see how that plays out in the next few weeks. But there is a way for a Republican to win New York. And if there ever were conditions, the New Yorkers feeling like we're not New York anymore, this is the year where I think that sentiment is more predominant than any time in my lifetime.
So all hope is not lost, even though the numbers tell us we don't have a chance.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, who thought that Donald Trump was going to be president in April and May of 2024? He was on criminal trial in New York.
Right.
It's all about the execution. And New Yorkers are common sense people, and I think they don't see a common sense leadership in their state right now. They are naturally Democrats, a naturally Democrat state, but sometimes naturally Democrat states decide they want to shake things up, and this could be the year to shake it up. It's all going to be about the execution of Bruce Blakeman, who, by the way, very skilled candidate thus far.
He really is. And look at the job he did out in Nassau County, where it's predominantly Democrat. John Solomon, excellent job as always. You become our guy here. We love you. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good.
Take care. John Solomon back on Sid Friends in the morning for the third time in about a month. He really is terrific. We'll take a break. We've got news and sports with Justin and traffic with Joe Nolan. Big weekend coming up, right?
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Basically shut down anybody who's trying to get to Uganda, which outside, I guess, of Mamdani and the ghost of Idi Amin. I'm not sure who's looking to go there, but did you know that, no?
I did see that. Idi Amin is no longer alive, I don't think. I think he's
That's
been
why I
dead for
said
a
the
while.
ghost of, yes.
Yeah.
He's been dead a while. But the only two people I know from Uganda are Idi Amin, who's a very evil person, and Mamdani, who's a very evil person.
Right.
I don't want to call all the people in Uganda evil, but the two people I know are very evil.
I feel like there's got to be a third famous person from Uganda.
Can you find out for us, please?
Mm-hmm.
What's a third famous Ugandan?
Just search evil Ugandans.
Yeah. Evil Ugandans for 100, please, Alex. This man was voted in as mayor. Talking about the mayor, he's not coming on Sunday to the parade. It's been an ongoing conversation. I'm sure Dershowitz will talk about that coming up next. Jews like me, we don't care. We don't want him there, but we don't like to lie. Stop talking about Bibi in Israel. This parade is not in Israel, right? How many times have I said this morning, Mr. Mamdani, I don't expect you to march in any parade in Haifa anytime soon. But you won in New York. Voters in New York voted for you. And some of them, losers, will be there on Sunday. And the Jewish people that you say you love because you love all New Yorkers are going to be there on Sunday. No one is asking you to come with me to Israel on June 18th and march in a parade. But any parade in New York has nothing to do with Bibi or the Israeli government, but you hate the Jews so much, and all of you do. All of you. Liars. I don't hate the Jews. I just, the Zionists. It's all the same. Zionists are just proud. It's like being a proud American. It's the same thing. That's all it is. There is no major differentiation. You people have done that because that's your excuse. The Tucker Carlsons of the world. You're liars. And I'm telling you, if you sit with me for 30 minutes, every one of you, you'll be exposed. You'll talk about that disgusting neighbor down the block hanging the Israeli flag, or that disgusting landlord who's screwing your cousin, or the fact that Israeli flag. You'll be exposed, and you'll be exposed very quickly. So Mamdani has no excuse. He should be there for the New Yorkers, not the Israelis who voted for him, but he can't bring himself to do it. But Jessica Tisch stuck it up his ass in a big way. Jessica Tisch. Lewis, this is cut number 3.
It's the mayor's decision not to march, and it is my decision to march proudly.
March proudly. That was for the mayor. Not just march. She could have said, he's not marching, I am. Right, nice and easy. No. I'm marching proudly. So, I don't want to get Jessica in trouble, because anytime I mention her, all these DSA and radical Islam and Democrat losers in this city keep posting that picture, her and I, when we had dinner. Picture's a great picture. It's her and I. There were 5 people there that night. You would have thought it was just her and I, down in Florida. 5 people were there that night. But they get so crazy if anybody talks to or hangs out with Sid. That awful guy, Sid. And like I've been saying, radio is, that's what I do. And TV, I'll be doing both, in fact, today. For Brian Kilmeade, if you love this show and you get sad when I leave, I'm not done. Keep WABC on like you do all day anyway. You'll hear me again, 11:30. I'll be the last guest of the week on Brian Kilmeade's radio show, which is on 210 stations across America. And then I'll be on Brian Kilmeade's television show, One Nation, Sunday night on Fox News. This is what I do, and there's nobody better. Go ahead, Ralph Romeo. Talk about that today. Sid did it again. And I'll keep mentioning him. Isn't that great? Because it's so silly and dumb. But this is what I do. But every time I think about Mamdani and what a horrible mayor and person he is, and I see some of the names of the people that are going to run for that position, I can't help but at least consider it. And then people come on this show every day now, guess, big-time people, big time. And without any provocation, they talk about me as the mayor. That's really true, right? No, I mean, they just bring it up. I don't bring it up.
That's been true for like the last month or so.
Right. Yeah. I don't bring it up. They bring it up. I wonder if Kilmeade will bring it up today on radio and TV. I don't know.
Well,
but
depends on what kind of note you pass to him. And
see what he did there? See what Lou was saying for folks at home.
Yeah, explain this one too, please.
Such an idiot. I don't pass any notes. This is what the people want. They want someone with balls. Now, Curtis has balls, but he's a fool. And he's a liar. And, he's in everybody's camp. He doesn't care. So they want somebody who's really going to fight back against Mamdani. That's what they want. And somebody who will bring some sense of normalcy to this city, a law and order guy. No one likes the cops more than me. Nobody. And by the way, the cops, I'm their favorite by a mile. By miles, I've got, 6,000 awards at home? I don't care what union it is, they all come to me. The sergeants came to me, I got the deal done. And other unions have come to me since. So that's what people want. They want that guy in New York. They don't want some guy walking around who basically hates everybody except for co-conspirators of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Those are my guys. So I'll take a short break. I'll come back. I'll talk to Tacopina, don't get mad. I can say this now because Tacopina's out of the country. But Dershowitz, no one's got the career Alan Dershowitz has had. Not yet. Not Tacopina, not Idala, not Danielle Rose, none of them. So Alan Dershowitz, he's next on Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Is Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
Come on, baby. Melissa Etheridge, birthday girl, give me some of it. Elegant life.
Please, baby, can't you see my mind's a burning hell? I got razors ripping and tearing and stripping my heart apart as well. Tonight you told me that you wait for something new. Some other woman is looking like something that might be good for you. Go on and hold her till the screaming is gone. Go on, believe her when she tells you nothing's wrong. But I'm the only one who walked across the fire.
It's a good tune. I want to get to this message I got on Instagram before I get to Dersh. It's a guy named Rick Middleton, and he was in Seaside Park, New Jersey a couple of days ago. He DM'd me this. He said, hey, Sid, your ears must have been ringing the other day. I live at the Jersey Shore and stopped to sit on a bench as I exited the beach to further admire the ocean. Two women, who I assumed were Jewish by their attire, were sitting on the bench, too. We struck up a banal conversation, very good word, when one woman inserted the word mashugana into our conversation. She asked if I knew the meaning of the word. I said yes, because I listened to Sid Rosenberg and Sid and Friends on the radio. The rest of the conversation went to a higher energy level when the women lit up saying, quote, we love Sid. We literally bonded on a bench in Seaside Park over Sidney Rosenberg. And that's why, Noam, despite your opposition,
right,
I'm running for mayor.
Okay.
Is he on Atlantic Avenue?
Yes.
They love me in Seaside Park.
Yeah, that won't help you, unfortunately, in New York City.
They love me in New York City, too. Don't kid yourself. They love me in Brooklyn. In fact, the greatest. I'll put him ahead of Woody Allen. Alan Dershowitz. They don't come bigger in Brooklyn than Alan. He loves me. And he's the greatest attorney I've ever. He's written a million good books, great books. And in fact, I'm going to be in one of them coming up. Here he is, my dear friend Alan Dershowitz. Alan, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, but I'm not loving Brooklyn today. You know, you have to focus on Park Dope or Park Woke, that Park Slope bunch of idiots who decide you can't buy matzah in Brooklyn. Can you imagine my grandmother getting up one morning and being told, you can't buy matzah anymore in parts of Brooklyn because the matzah is made in Israel? Now, it is such bigotry and discrimination, the kind of thing we fought against for years and years and years in the civil rights movement, and yet all these woke idiots from Brooklyn, I don't even regard it as Brooklyn, that part of Brooklyn, Park Slope, that all the radical crazies wokes live in, but they have their co-op, and their co-op is refusing to sell Israeli products. Thankfully, lawsuits are being brought. I think the lawsuits will win because there are statutes all over the country that prohibit discrimination based on national origin. And this is discrimination based on national origin. If you're Israeli, you're not kosher. If you're Israeli, we can't sell you. We can't let people buy. You know, the people who go into the store should have a right to buy what they want to buy. If they don't want to buy Israeli food, okay. If they don't want to buy Chinese food, if they don't want to buy Iranian, Russian, whatever, let them make the decision, but let not the store engage in this massive censorship. And the bigotry is so well illustrated by the fact that they don't ban Russian food. They don't ban Chinese food. They wouldn't even ban Sudanese food with Israel genocide going on. But Jewish food made in Israel, matzah,
Yeah.
no, you can't buy it.
Now, listen, two things about that story. First of all, I agree with you. To me, Brooklyn is the Midwood section, Sheepshead Bay, Bay Ridge, Borough Park, right. Once you get to Dumbo and Park Slope, no thank you, that's Manhattan. And secondly, the worst part about that story is the people that are offended, once again, Alan, are the Jews.
Well, rabbis too. And, there are Reform rabbis, there are rabbis who belong to Jewish Voice for Peace, which is the second most anti-Jewish organization in America. J Street has to lead the way. They are the most dangerous anti-Israel organization in America because they pretend to be pro-Israel. But you're right. Look, how many Jews voted for Mamdani? People forget that thousands of Jews voted for Hitler in 1932. They thought he was good for the economy, so they voted for Hitler. They wanted to be nationalists and assimilationists. Jews voted for Mussolini. Jews can be the biggest idiots in the world when it comes to destroying their own self. They don't remember the great Rabbi Hillel who said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? They only remember the second part, if I am for myself alone, what am I? And so Jews are a big part of the problem, particularly New York Jews are a big
the worst.
part of the problem.
No, the worst. You got this Moshe Indig. He's a rabbi. I called him out on Twitter. I fought with him. Direct message. He's part of the Satmar community. He's not the only one. I don't want to call it one community, but there's a bunch of them. And they're the worst. And, you mentioned Mamdani, and I'm going to march on Sunday. I do every year.
Good.
Thank you. And he's not coming, and I'm glad he's not coming. But what's funny to me is he'll say I'm the mayor for all New Yorkers. That includes the Jewish people. I've been saying this all morning long. I'm going to say it again at the risk of repetition. This parade on Sunday, Alan Dershowitz, is not in Tel Aviv. I get it. Don't do it. It's not in Jerusalem. I get it. Don't do it. It's not in Haifa. This parade is on Fifth Avenue in New York City, where you won. So how much you hate Bibi, even though it is bigotry and stupid, that's fine. He's not here. This is not an Israel parade. It's a parade for Jewish people in New York City. So what's the real excuse?
Well, also, it's a parade for Christian people who support Israel and other good people around the world who support Israel. And it's a great parade. I've been to it many, 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 many times. And, look, the bigotry is outstanding. You have the 12th congressional district now. You have all these people running against each other, and they're each campaigning on who can be more anti-Israel. Who can be more anti-Israel? And we're getting, Goldman, who's a decent guy running, and he's running against this guy Lander, who is campaigning against Israel. So it's become good politics.
Lander is Jewish. He's Jewish, by the way, Brad Lander. He's Jewish.
He's Jewish on his parents' side.
Right.
You call that Jewish. I don't call that Jewish. But he has the right to be whatever kind of Jew he wants to be. But why anybody would vote for him? My favorite candidate, though, in the 12th district is Jack Schlossberg, the Kennedy kid, the spoiled brat from the Kennedy family, who's running as well and running fairly well. But democracy is a dangerous thing. It's the greatest thing in the world, as Churchill said, the worst thing except for all the others that have been tried over time. 7,000 Texans voted last week for a woman who said she wants to put Jews in concentration camps. 7,000 Texans voted for that.
She did lose, though. But she did lose, though. She got walloped.
She lost, but she got 7,000 votes.
Yes.
And the guy in Maine may win. The guy with the Nazi tattoo.
Graham Plattner. He's a terrible person. And so is the guy that's been parading around Maine all the time, another quote-unquote Jew, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is campaigning for him. Liz Warren is campaigning for him. Look, they would have voted for Hitler in 1932 if Hitler promised to have minimum wages. They don't care about Jews. They don't care about fairness. They only care about their own socialist policies, and they'll vote for anybody who's a socialist. They'd vote for Stalin. They'd vote for Mao Zedong, as long as you're a socialist. And you could be the worst anti-Semite in the world, as this guy obviously is. You don't put a Nazi tattoo on your chest and then claim, oh, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing, I was in the Marines, I was catching oysters, whatever. But if he wins, by the way, there will be no Republican in the entire Congress, in the House or the Senate, from all of New England. New England will become Cuba in the 1960s. Jeez. Not a single Republican in either the House or the Senate representing that entire region of the United States. And, New York and New Jersey are not much better. They're a little better. We've got a few. But, the northeast of the United States is becoming a bastion of socialism, which really has never succeeded anywhere in the world and never would succeed. And New York is victim of it. Thankfully, my former student Jessie Tisch is marching in the parade, and everybody ought to stand up and applaud her. She's the police commissioner. I think she's doing a great job. I hope she'll be the next mayor of New York.
She may be.
No, not the next mayor. You're the next mayor. After that, you're a little older than her, so you get to run first. You get to be the mayor, and then she becomes the mayor after that.
I'm very close with Jessica too. I know you're her teacher, but if Jessica is going to run, and she has intimated in the past. I'm not going to say whether she told me that or not, because I keep our conversations private, because they kill her. They kill her for talking to me. They kill her. But if she does want to run, I'm not going to run. I'd love to see Jessica. I don't know what she's going to run as, though. She's not a Republican. What would she run as? An independent?
She is a Democrat.
I know, but
her family have been Democrats
I know,
for years. But
I know.
I suspect. I don't know that at least some members of her family look at the Democrats the way I do. I was a Democrat for 70 years. 70 years. I started when I was 14 years old, campaigning for Philip Schuppler on the streets of Borough Park. And, of course, I've left the Democratic Party. I spoke last night at a Chabad event, and I said, I'm going to say something that I've never said before. And I said, welcome, fellow Republicans. And I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
Because, I have become a Republican.
Yes.
I was an independent, but you helped persuade me, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You argued with me over and over again that, you can't be an independent. You have to take sides. This is an existential battle for the survival of the Jewish people. The Democrats have become our enemy, and so the enemy of our enemy has to be our friend.
Yes, I did. And when you and I actually, thank you, we shared an award together that you received. I couldn't make it that night at the Metropolitan Republican Club on the Upper East Side, and they told me you stole the show. So I'm proud to be that guy standing with you, Alan. I do want to talk about a guy that I call the campus terrorist. That's what I call him. He's the face of campus terrorism. He's Mahmoud Khalil. He got some good news this week. He couldn't wait to tweet it. But everybody I talk to, all these big attorneys, say that it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of time. He will be deported. What does Alan Dershowitz think?
I think he will be deported. I think he should be deported. And by the way, that doesn't violate anybody's free speech rights. He can still speak on the internet. He can still speak on Google. He just can't be in this country. He doesn't have the right to be in this country if, in fact, he lied on his application for green card status or any other status. That's the law, and it should be applied equally to everybody. And he has to get due process and fairness. But hopefully he's on the way out and should go to a country that he supports, not a country that he hates.
Agreed. Now, tell me about Joe Biden. I think I saw maybe they already struck a deal. I don't know. But he has been the topic of conversation that he was really going out of his way to make sure that certain tapes and recordings of him were not released. And it was working for a while. I spoke to Greg Jarrett from Fox News yesterday, and I asked him flat out, could Biden be in big trouble? He said, sure. I mean, this could result in a criminal investigation, an indictment maybe one day. I don't know. Where are we in that Biden deal?
I don't think so. I think what's going to happen, though, is that the videotape is going to be released. Look, if you want to release anything, just mention the word Epstein, then it'll get released. But if everything about Epstein is released, and who was he? He's just a little schnook from Brooklyn. If everything about Epstein gets released, how do you suppress testimony by the President of the United States? He's now the former President of the United States. But the public has the right transparently to see what he said, how he said it, whether he was at that point competent or incompetent. Everybody has the right to make that judgment based on all the information. So, of course, that material should come out, and there should be no successful suppression of relevant material of that kind. Judges release deposition testimony all the time. They did it in the Epstein case, and there's no reason not to do it in the Biden case.
Final 60 seconds. Boy, the Supreme Court seems to be very busy these days with Trump stuff. I mean, really busy, right, Alan?
Yeah, look, we have a separation of powers, checks and balances, and the role of the Supreme Court is to resolve disputes between the other branches of government. I have a case in front of the Supreme Court right now, too. You probably know I'm suing CNN, and that case probably will be decided next week, whether the court will take the case or not take the case. You know, they lied, deliberately, willfully lied about me, and the judge found that they were so stupid, the commentators, they couldn't put a string of sentence together, and they couldn't understand that I said nothing of the sort. But they said I hadn't been able to prove malice, which you can't prove. It's impossible. You have to get into the head of the people. So the Supreme Court has that case in front of it now, and it has a lot of important cases. The Supreme Court is becoming a more important institution under the Trump administration because Trump, to be honest, pushes the envelope. He always pushes it to the extreme of what he believes is constitutional. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. But, you know, Jefferson did the same thing. Roosevelt did the same thing. Lincoln did the same thing. Almost all important presidents have pushed the limits of executive authority to the point where sometimes the Supreme Court sustains it, sometimes they don't. It doesn't say anything bad about the president to say that he's testing the limits of his authority, and he abides by the Supreme Court decisions. Trump has never refused to obey a Supreme Court decision.
Alan Dershowitz, you're brilliant. I love you. This was a great conversation. We discussed so many important things. I can't wait to do it again. Shabbat Shalom. Have a good weekend.
Shalom.
I'll wave to
You
you
too.
Sunday.
Thanks for having
If
me.
you're watching the parade on TV, I'll wave to you, okay?
Please, thank you.
All right, buddy. Alan Dershowitz, back on Sid and Friends in the morning. We'll take a break and wrap things up. Great week.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?